What up, sports fans all over the world? It's your boy Mac the Giants fan. I'm here with my guys. It's the Horsemen, Zion Zenith, NYG Jeffy T85, Adam Costas. This is the Premium Takes Podcast. Let's go! What is going on? What is going on, everybody out there, man? Welcome to another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast. And without
Let's
further
get
ado,
it.
I'm going to pass the mic to my boy Zion. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you guys all for joining us on another edition of Premium Takes. Thank you, Mac, for such an amazing intro as always. Let's just start things out with a banger. Thank you guys so much. So a lot of things happened over this past week, guys, but we're gonna cover the highlight story of it all. The Bears, they trade the first pick to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers get the first pick. The Bears acquire DJ Moore. Carolina's 9th and 61st this year, a first round next year, and a second in 2025. Let's get you guys' thoughts on that. And thank you guys so much for joining the show today. Mac, what's your thoughts on that? Let's get it.
Well, that right there for me, my personal thoughts, man. I like it I love it for the Bears, man. I love it for Justin Fields. I think this is right here. You know what else I love it for? I love it for what's his name, Darnell Mooney, the other wide receiver
Absolutely.
over there in Chicago. I love it for that young man because now he's going to get an opportunity to maybe flourish a little bit more. It was tough when he was pretty much the only legitimate weapon that defenses had to worry about on the outside for Chicago. I think this is going to help him be able to do a little bit more out there in that offense. And Justin Fields, man, just giving him another weapon, another legitimate receiver out there, some more help. Cole Kmet is starting to kind of, trend a little upward a little bit, getting, it's coming along. It's coming along. It's coming along. It ain't where we are, and it still ain't where it need to be yet, but it's coming along over there. So I just think this is going to be a really good move for Chicago Bears. Also, for myself personally, I'm a fantasy football aficionado. I just happen to have, a part of a dynasty league where Justin Fields is one of my quarterbacks. So yeah, let's go. It's going to just help Mac the Giants fan out a little bit on the fantasy football front as well, I believe. So I think it's a really good move for the and I'm curious to see who Carolina's got in mind. What they got in mind. Remember, they did get a Matt Corral last year as well in the draft. So we'll see. We'll see what they got in mind going in the Carolina training camp after the draft, man. Who they gonna take with that top pick?
Let's get it. Jeff, what's your thoughts on that?
I love it. Love it from Chicago's standpoint. I mean, you get yourself a bona fide number one wide receiver. You bump Chase Claypool now as the number two, and you got Darnell Mooney, who could be that straight line guy as the number three wide receiver. That's a pretty damn good. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. He's now the number two, which is probably the best position for him. You got a route running technician in DJ Moore. And then what you got as well is you got Mooney that can take the top off the defense. And don't forget about that running back they got, Khalil Herbert. He's pretty damn dynamic in the backfield as well. And like you mentioned, Mac, you got Cole Kmet at tight end. He doesn't have the pressure of being one of the top targets now. He can just be the guy that can manufacture over the middle of the field and get those short yardage catches. And I love the fact that Chicago now has another top pick still in that top 10, so they can get themselves a big-time offensive lineman, maybe a left tackle or right tackle. They could get themselves an impact defensive lineman. You got a couple of big defensive players that are coming out in this draft, and you just got yourself even more picks in Chicago. When they were able to get that number one pick, they armed themselves with Justin Fields, who we all believe was the guy over there. They armed themselves with a perfect opportunity to go out there and really just fleece any team that's desperate enough to go up there and trade for the number one pick. And Carolina was one of those teams that did it. From Carolina's standpoint, you guys better get it right. You better get it right because you guys traded a lot for a player that you don't even know if he's going to be the answer. I think their target is C.J. Stroud. Everything you're hearing is I think they're going to be going after C.J. Stroud. Damn right, Miz. they're going to be going after C.J. Stroud, but it could be Richardson, which I think be ballsy as hell if they do that. But from Chicago's standpoint, love it. Carolina's standpoint, wait and see.
What's your thoughts on that, Adam? Great take. Great take,
Well,
Jeff.
I think it's a great win-win for both teams. Actually, I think the Panthers actually didn't give up as much as people think. When you think about the Bears moving up from Mitchell Trubisky, moving up 2 slots to get Mitchell Trubisky, they gave up an arm and a leg. I mean, I still think they're playing for that draft right now, right? So now they're getting some picks back. They're in the driver's seat, the Bears, and remember they traded up for Justin Fields, who had arguably the best season running the football in the NFL. And now you're going to give him guys like a DJ Moore, which see what this team is doing. They identified their QB. They said, here it is, and they're building for him now because they see his upside keep going, right? So now they can build because he's still on a rookie deal. So you bring in all your guys, DJ Moore, you build that offensive line. Maybe you'd be competitive. I mean, at least offensively they will be. And I think the Bears did a good job here. Panthers are the team that intrigued me the most. Now, I would say this would be a shit show of a job, but they got a coach who I kind of like in Frank Wright, and he does pretty good with quarterbacks. Obviously, he didn't do great with Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz is who he is. He's not doing great with anybody. But he did help Carson Wentz have that MVP season and help Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. So if anybody is going there, I think they traded up for C.J. Stroud. I think that he's the most NFL ready. He's got the NFL body type. I wouldn't put it past them to get Richardson, though, and here's why. You can bring back Sam Darnold for a cheap deal. You can have Frank Reich groom him the way he wants to behind that line and bring a little juice to him. That would be the sexy pick. The boring pick is Stroud. The sexy pick is Richardson. You bring him in, people are going to be like, oh, my God, Cam Newton, is he going to be like that guy again, or we have our Superman again? So that could be a buzz if they go there. Now, again, I'm looking at it like this. If you do the smart, safe choice of the Panthers, take your C.J. Stroud, let your quarterback coach and build him up, bring back Sam Darnold, and away you go. Now, if C.J. Stroud pans out, nobody's going to care about the picks you gave up. They're not going to give a crap. That you got your franchise quarterback or your next franchise quarterback moving forward to compete for championships, no one's going to care that you gave up. And as for like the Bears, they're in a division right now where it's kind of up for grabs, right? Aaron Rodgers, there's movement there. I'm sure we're going to touch on that in a little bit. The Lions have improved steadily. The Minnesota Vikings seem to be dismantling their team. So why not? Why not make some moves, get your quarterback who obviously is ascending and wants to become a better passer? If Justin Fields becomes a better passer, man, the NFL, watch out, man. I mean, we were talking about Lamar Jackson being MVP. Justin Fields has that kind of talent.
Get that man an offensive line. You'll see how good Justin Fields really can be.
Maybe they do.
Absolutely. I think you guys covered all the points on that contract and on that trade. That's great for the Chicago Bears and also great for Carolina. Let me even throw out Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is a notable candidate too at that spot. I see C.J. Stroud probably fit in the Carolina system a little bit better, but then C.J. Stroud also did have the best wide receiver core in the country, where Bryce Young had a depleted offensive line and not the best wide receivers that Alabama's seen in years. So I think Bryce Young brings a little bit of element there too also. And, Miz brought it up, and also, homie next for listing all of it. Jeff made it in his point. The Chicago Bears, look at all those players they have, and even look at the salary. Number 1 in the league when it comes to the salary and the available funds they have. They can still go get an offensive line at 9th. Adam, you're just going to say something?
Miz brings up a point about Edmonds here. Why would you sign Edmonds, no offense to the Bears, and get rid of Roquan Smith? I mean, you had Roquan Smith there, and you traded him away because you didn't want to pay him big money, but now you're going to turn around and pay Edmonds? I mean, well, for everything they've done right, this doesn't make sense to me. I like Edmonds. I'm not trying to say don't go there, Edmonds. It's not like hey, go to the New York Giants over the Bears. It's more of, hey, this seems like a kind of a weird transition. It's like, oh, we got rid of Roquan Smith and his salary. Oh, wait, now we're going to go spend money on Trey Edmonds.
In the sense of spending money in general, right? So they definitely have the money to spend it wherever they want to spend it. Edmonds being one of the top linebackers coming out, they definitely can go grab him and even keep Smith. They have the opportunity, right, guys, to spend it on whatever they want to spend it on. And I think it works out for both of them. Another thing that we want to talk about is what's up, Raphael? Another thing we want to talk about is what happened this morning. I'm gonna let Jeff start this one off. He posted out in the group chat early this morning. We have the Miami Dolphins acquiring cornerback Jalen Ramsey from the Los Angeles Rams for a third-round pick and a tight end, Hunter Long. What do you feel about that, Jeff? You can begin.
To me, this is just a move that they're making because of the fact that they're going to lose Byron Jones, so they just let go. So they want to try to have, because of the type of defense they're running over there in Miami, they want to try to have two sturdy cornerbacks on the outside, though. Ramsey is not the same player he was a few years ago. He's still a good cornerback, but he's not that all-pro, Ramsey Island type cornerback that he was in his later days with Jacksonville and earlier on with the Rams. So I see them as just trying to keep, get a big-time cornerback to replace a solid cornerback that they had previously. I mean, they didn't really the thing is, they didn't give up that much. Only a third-round pick and a backup tight end. So I understand why Miami is doing it, and he did get a $20 million bonus or something, or contract, a little bonus incentives added onto it. And now you have two older cornerbacks that are not exactly in their prime with Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. So you have to wonder how it's going to work out there in Miami. And I agree with Miz. That Miami Dolphins team might be a lot of drama down there in South Beach. They got a lot of those guys that could be a lot of drama-filled players down there, especially when you're cornerbacks with both Howard and Ramsey. But I see them as just pretty much trading out Byron Jones, putting in Ramsey because of the type of defense they have, and they need two elite, or at least pretty, not elite cornerbacks, but used to be elite cornerbacks back in there.
Let's get it. What's your thoughts on that, Matt?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I still believe Jalen Ramsey upgrades his Miami Dolphin defense in a positive way. I mean, it's look, Miami Dolphins were able to, when especially early in the season when they had Tua healthy, they were able to score points with anybody, obviously. They were putting up big points, throwing the ball all over the yard. To Waddle and the little man that talks shit.
Hill?
Tyreek Hill, yeah. So I don't have a plan for it there. But at the same time, man, this defense also struggled a lot. I mean, also was able to just be had, and Jalen Ramsey's going to give this defense something that they were lacking a year ago, and it's just going to be a little more secure out there on those edges, and might be able to help keep that long ball from beating them as much as it did last year, because sometimes games got away just because they just couldn't defend very well out there. So I think Jalen Ramsey, this is definitely a upgrade for the Miami Dolphins big time. I think that they are going to be a little more competitive in that division, possibly, if they can get some healthy quarterback play from Tua or whoever the hell it's going to be. I think they'll be a little more competitive with the Buffalo Bills in that division. And the Jets, that division is up and coming, and you never can count out the Bill Belichick-led Patriots. You never know what you're going to get from that squad either. So I think this is a good move for the Miami Dolphins right now. I think this definitely gives them a little more of an edge defensively. It's going to help them out, like I said, in the long run, from just getting beat, like I said, as bad as they was defensively. I mean, that was what kind of was one of their downfalls, man. Even though Tua's health obviously had a lot to do with it too, as well, obviously. But that defensively, man, this team was giving up big chunks of yards most of the year, and Jalen Ramsey's going to definitely maybe help slow that down a little bit. So we'll see. But I think also what you said, the Rams are clearly just blowing it up right now, just absolutely blowing it up. Because I mean, they just gave, to me, that's giving away Jalen Ramsey. I still think he's a better player than what they got in return for him at this point in his career. So
hey, William,
blowing it up and trying to recruit any draft picks any way they can, because they obviously went all in for a Super Bowl. They got it, but now they're paying that price of just not building properly. And now they just got to blow this whole team up and start back from the bottom. So we'll see.
Hey, salutes to you guys, though. Thank you, Williams, for being here. Salutes to all you guys. All of you guys in the chat, keeping it going. We're going to bring up every comment. We might not read it, but it's right alongside that for the world to see them. And we appreciate you guys for being here with us and enjoying your guys' Sunday with us. So thank you guys so much. So salute to you guys. Appreciate that. Adam, what's your thoughts on that? Great take.
I think it's a great move for Miami, and a move like Max said about a fire sale with the Rams. Now, I'll start with them. They're bringing back their coach, so this might be a long-term plan, saying, hey, listen, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back for a while. Let's build this the right way. So they're trying to get some assets with some of their aging players right now. So good move on their part. Miami is obviously trying to compete with the Buffalo Bills and a couple other teams in their division and their conference. So they're getting amped up. I think Ramsey still has a lot to go. I think last year was a Super Bowl hangover. Right, type of deal. I think they got fat, happy cats. Guys get burned, but also systems change. And this system fit. Coach Fangio is the defensive coordinator down in Miami, and he drafted Patrick Surtain in Denver. And why they draft Patrick Surtain? Because he was a top corner, 6'2", 215, can play the press man. Well, guess what? So can Jalen Ramsey. So I think what they did, it was upgrade by subtraction. Even though they got Byron Jones had some health problems, retiring, had to cut him, they're actually getting a better player who probably now will bring a little swagger to that defense. Yes, do I think there's a lot of divas in there? I do, but their head coach, the Fonz, I really think he can control it. Him in his little leather jacket look like the Fonz on NFL Network. I think he'll be able to control it for a little bit. But I think it fits their defense and what they do. I think Jalen Ramsey is really going to help because of the scheme fit. Mac was talking about they let a lot of plays go deep over the top. Well, now you can do a lot more when you have a guy, because Byron Jones was not meant for that coaching staff. He was brought in for Patrick Graham. And what people got to understand is when you bring in players, sometimes they're good and they exceed expectations, a la Andrew Thomas, where it doesn't matter what offense you're putting him in, he's good regardless, right? And then there's sometimes guys who are scheme fit for what you were brought in. Patrick Graham and Brian Flores had a way of doing defense. Byron Jones fit that. Vic Fangio is now, like I said, the defense coordinator. His defense is a little different. Ramsey fits more of what they do. I think it's a good fit for them, a good move. Obviously, Miami's trying to get a little bit more in the Lombardi picture here. They know they got Tua. If I were them, I wouldn't necessarily invest in a quarterback, but maybe a backup quarterback. Maybe I'm looking at maybe I overpay for Jimmy G and say, hey, listen, man, our offense from San Francisco. Let me pay you a little extra money. You and Tua can, beat Tua's backup. Tua goes down. You still have a guy that can navigate the ship. Remember, they were in that Buffalo game. Remember, Buffalo gave them a chance to come back in that game. If they had a competent quarterback, they might have upset Buffalo and went on to Kansas City. And who knows at that point you're in the playoffs, who knows what would have happened. So that's my take on the Ramsey deal and where Miami's headed.
Excellent take, Matt, Adam.
Absolutely. I think you guys covered all of it, for the price tag. I mean,
Thank
a
you.
third round, like that's, and Ramsey can still cover his own. He's on the decline, but at the end of the day, he's still in the top 10, if you ask me. So that being said, what Adam said, I want to touch on, not because I do like this move, but I want to touch on the quarterback for Miami. Now, he's from the islands. He played for St. Louis. Do love him. You know what I'm saying? Tua, I like him, but I don't know where his head's at mentally and his body physically. And what Adam touched on, it's like, do you go out there and do you acquire a quarterback? Because I don't see, you can. I'm not trying to say replace Tua, but all I'm trying to say is you can go out there if Miami, if it's looking like the building a roster to go win on Lombardi, like you guys mentioned, and go out there and I want to see them where their head is at. Miami's head is at with Tua, and hopefully that comes out sooner than later. Free agency is around the corner, and let's see how that plays out. And I'm gonna end it with this: there is some people even in the media going as far as saying number 12 coming back. So we'll see what goes on in Miami, and we'll see how that goes. That being said, guys, let's move into the recap of the.
You just set Randy over the edge by just saying that. By the way, number 12 coming back.
That being said, he did give Fox a 1 year. He's gonna need a 1 year. Why do you need 1 year? The contract is on the line with Fox. Go in there and go call it like Drew Brees did. So that being said, why do you need a year to think about it? But it's Brady. He's the GOAT. He can do whatever he wants to do. So let's move into AEW, guys, because I know you guys covered it last Sunday after Premium Takes, and let's recap it for a bit, and then we'll probably move into March Madness because the brackets just came out. So let's recap AEW Evolution 2023.
Told you.
What happened, and let's get it.
Mac, You want to go first?
AEW Revolution, man. That was a very entertaining show last Sunday night, man. I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I'm still at an awe over that Texas Death Match between Hangman Adam Page and John Moxley, man. I just don't know how two guys can put it all on the line like that. I'm watching a human being wrap barbed wire around himself to use it as a weapon against his opponent. Like, just crazy shit. He Hangman wrapped barbed wire around him and did a splash off the top rope onto John Moxley. Like,
For all our football,
John Moxley,
all our football lovers, don't worry. We have a lot of football stuff to cover. We'll be back in a second. Let's recap Evolution. Let's go. I'm sorry to interrupt that great take.
John Moxley pulled a fork out of his boot and just was gouging at the forehead of Hangman. I mean, this match had it all, man. It had all the blood. It had all the it was just crazy, out of control, man. The people who I felt bad for, I ended up feeling bad for Wardlow and Samoa Joe. Because they had to end up following that shit afterwards, man. And that was just unfortunate because that match was something you just couldn't follow. But a couple other great matches on the card too, man. The trios championship match between the Elite and the House of Black. I mean, that match was absolutely awesome as well, man. These 6 guys were absolutely going at it. And then, of course, the main event. I mean, what more can I say about the main event? I mean, 60 minutes. Plus a little bit of overtime. MJF still coming out on top, man, and what was a great Iron Man, 60-man Iron Man match. Oh, man, the Revolution was good top to bottom, man. Like I mean, it was not. I can't really. It's nothing more. I mean, it was awesome. It was a great show. I mean, everybody did their thing, man. Guys just put it all on the line. Like I said, that Texas Death Match. If you ain't seen that, man, you got to check that out because those guys let it all hang out, man. Moxley and Hangman, woo! Speechless, man. Just take it away, Jeff, bro.
Yeah, I mean that whole entire pay-per-view from top to bottom was probably the best wrestling pay-per-view that I've seen since Clash at the Castle back in the summer. And we know how good that pay-per-view was for WWE. But AEW Revolution, I mean, there's really not a lot of words I could say after that. I mean, just like it's just like your whole entire emotions were like all over the place, especially during the Texas Death Match with what Moxley and what Hangman Page were doing to one another. I thought Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho was an incredibly underrated matchup in the beginning. The women had a great matchup as well. I thought Hayter, Soho, and Saraya all did well. I mean, the 3-on-3 match between the House of Black and the Elite, that was awesome as hell. Samoa Joe and Wardlow wasn't even that terrible of a match. It was just like you said, it was in a bad spot. The tag team match was probably the lowest point of the show, if you even want to call that, because it wasn't even that bad. But at the same time, that main event was easily one of, if not the best Iron Man match I've ever seen in my life. It had everything. Everything. Drama. It had intrigue. It had just like near pinfalls, big-time pinfalls, storytelling. It had it all throughout that entire match. It had you on the edge of your seat for over an hour. And that pay-per-view is what makes me fall in love as a wrestling fan. A lot of football fans like wrestling too, just throwing it out there. But that pay-per-view alone is the reason why I love wrestling, because of everything that was put into it. Great matches, awesome storytelling, in-ring work, brutality, and then just seeing a major star or stars being born during that whole show. It was just top to bottom, just a terrific show.
Just like
everything.
Everything.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You just said that was one of the best matches you've seen in your life. Quote unquote, was an Iron Man match or what match it was, and for me, just hearing that, I went whoa, because of the fact that your history of WWE and just wrestling, all these organizations in general, and your knowledge on it goes back years upon years upon years. For you to see something like that makes me want to go, and you guys all should go and check out this pay-per-view if you didn't.
Should.
I just recently watched downloaded the Peacock app. I recently watched the Elimination Chamber just to try to rewatch it, just to get not
That was great
not
too.
rewatch it, but try to store it from there and then watch Raw and SmackDown, getting leading up to the road to WrestleMania. But for you saying that was awesome, Adam. I don't know if you're here, but if you are, do you have any thoughts of Revolution?
I didn't see it, so I can't really tell you any thoughts really, other than they seem to be putting out a better product than WWE.
It's
So
like
Coach Ed, thank you for being here, Jets.
neck and neck. WWE's had some good stuff too.
So if you guys didn't hear, Jets re-signed Quincy Williams, 3 years, $18 million, but incentives that could reach $21 million. Brought to you by Coach EDD. If you guys haven't already,
Thank you,
go
Coach.
check out Coach's channel.
That's pretty much like saying, that's pretty much telling Quentin Williams, his brother, be like, all right, will you lock up my brother and I'll stay with you guys long term. That's pretty much what it felt like. Even though Quincy Williams did a good job with the Jets, so the Williams brothers will be New York Jets for a while.
Let's get it. Adam, if you, Mac, if you don't mind, if you can pull up NCAA March Madness bracket. The bracket just got released. I know some teams made it, and it's March. I'm not really a big NCAA fan, but I'm probably going to be watching Dolphins get Jalen Ramsey. Absolutely. We just touched on that. Thank you so much, Alexander, for being here. I'm probably going to watch a tournament because we're going to probably be talking about the tournament. So let's talk about it. NCAA March Madness bracket review, what you guys got on that as we wait for Mac to pull up the bracket. Let's get it right here. And there it is. So you guys can go right ahead and review it, whoever wants to start it.
I'm pissed too, Coach.
So are we picking a team and then we're just going to or are we picking a side? How is this working? There's 4 of us and 4 brackets. So maybe we should just own a bracket, right? And then whatever team wins out of those brackets from this side, right? Well, we can talk.
I'm down. I do not know nobody of none of these teams. The only person I'm following is Victor, and he doesn't play in the NCAA. So I'll let you guys pick your guys' brackets first, and I'll take the last bracket.
I just think it'd be fun because there's so many teams to just pick. All right, I got the whatever bracket that is, the Alabama bracket over there.
I would be down however you guys want to take it. I'll let you guys select the team or bracket that you guys want to select first, and I'll select last. I'll probably base it off
Alabama
logo. I'll base it off of the cool logo.
Fine, I'll take the Alabama bracket. Nobody wants it.
You're gonna take the Alabama bracket? Awesome. What bracket do you want, Mac? What bracket do you want, Jeff?
I'll take the Houston bracket.
All right, so Jeff takes the Houston bracket. That leaves the 2 final brackets, if you don't mind scrolling down a bit.
Mac,
you're muted.
That's why you couldn't hear me. That's why none of you can hear me when I kept saying I was going to take the Midwest bracket. But it's okay, Jeff. You can have it.
Okay.
I'll give you the Midwest bracket.
No. It's okay. It's okay. No, it's okay.
Wait, I want to ride with the USC bracket. I want to ride with the USC bracket, Mac, because they're in the East.
I'm still starting to study it because I don't know
I'll take the West. I'll take the West. Then.
Well, I didn't know if anybody liked this idea or not. That's why I threw it out there. We could always do a team, but I just think since there's 4 of us and 4 brackets,
we can just see who does the best out of the region. We can see who does the best.
I'm down for that.
Pick.
I didn't know the Trojans made it into the tournament, so I'm a Trojans football fan. So I'm just gonna ride with the tournament, with the Trojans in the tournament. So I'll go with the East, and if I was to pick a team, I'm gonna go at USC.
The Trojans are going to screw everybody.
Well, that's not going to happen, Zion, but it's okay. It's okay, but they're not going to run out. They're not coming out. Yeah, I got it. They're not coming out of the East.
With condoms. All right, keep it PG. Let's go.
You hit a good joke when you when you landed on yourself, man, that's when you know. Oh man, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
No, that's funny. I love it. We have the Trojan Fire.
I think the reaction that telling you about the joke was, I think, even funnier than the actual joke. Ooh, sorry. Anyways, this is gonna be fun, man. A whole huge bracket, all four of us.
Absolutely.
I'm not a huge fan. I think Mac has an advantage because he knows these teams a little better. He watches more of the NBA thing, but he and I had a fantastic bracket last year, and this year we're gonna have a fantastic one. And we should. Is this a link, Mac? Here, can we name these brackets, or is this a live thing?
We can. We're gonna figure that out on. When does it start? When does the tournament start?
Didn't it start this week?
Game?
Yeah, I think it starts this upcoming week.
So we have to make it.
It starts Tuesday. If you want to be technical,
playing, yeah.
It starts Tuesday. Those couple first rounds.
So we have a day to make a link, and
they would like to be referred to as the first round.
We have a day to make a link and label the team. So we'll figure that out. Do you guys want to give any thoughts on your guys' clear favorites or who you guys got before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I mean, this is going to be interesting. I like the number one seeds this year. I think at least 3 of these number one seeds are going to go to the Final Four this year. I'm not sure which one is going to be the odd one out, but I think at least 3 of them are going to the Final Four. I think they are. These are the 4, I believe, were the 4 best teams in college basketball right now: Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and Kansas. And I see 3 of them at least. I see at least 3 of them advancing.
Here's Alabama. Roll Tide, baby.
As a matter of fact, I think Alabama might be the odd one out, actually.
What? Do you say that? You said that because I said Roll Tide. You got excited. So
I think it might be
suppress my excitement right now.
That doesn't advance. I think the other 3.
That's what Max trying.
I think the other 3 number one seeds are
going to. My excitement right now.
I'm gonna see them in the Final Four.
Well, Mac, you're not gonna knock this candle out. Alabama, Roll Tide is coming for your bracket on the West Side, West Coast, whatever
Alabama's a really good basketball team, man, but
they're really good at a lot of things.
This is how I'm seeing it right
they
now.
are. They'll get knocked out in the second round.
Isn't Auburn in Alabama? So Alabama's on the other side. It's crazy. It's crazy how they do this geography and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy.
And then the whole
like Iowa State
in the West.
Should that be on that side? That looks like a lot of. I don't know, man. I'm not going to say anything else. It's like when they had the Arizona Cardinals in the East back in the day, or the Dallas Cowboys. It's like, how does that even happen? I guess
I always wondered about that myself.
Yeah. A lot of rivalries, probably. Are there a lot of? Does Alabama have any rivalries in this on their side here? Any big time rivalries that they play?
LSU.
Well, no, that's yes, but like in college basketball,
is it LSU one of the biggest rivals in college basketball too?
I don't know.
Maybe probably in college basketball. You're just talking about your whole conference. Your whole conference are your rivals in college. It's just different.
Okay.
Because you play them a couple of times. You probably play them a couple of times a season, maybe, possibly. So it's.
I'm just saying that's maybe why they're doing it. You know, Alabama, like Auburn.
Like obviously Auburn, that's a big in-state rivalry, no matter what. Bragging rights, it's just like Duke and Carolina, just not as big, obviously. Just that in-state rivalry always. College basketball, man, has some really great rivalries, man.
Who is your upset? Your Cinderella, your darling, your guy who thinks it's going to be a bracket buster. Mac, doesn't matter whose bracket is in. Your thoughts?
I'd say, I mean, I was kind of been looking to see, man, who's going to be that St. Peter's team from a year ago. Remember that?
Anybody that plays Alabama.
Knocked off Kentucky in the first round, 15 seed, knocking off Kentucky in the first round and going and advancing to the elite. I believe they got to.
Yes.
That St. Peter's team.
Yes, that was weren't we live?
I don't know if anybody's gonna make that type of a run. I'm not sure if anybody's gonna make that type of a run this year, but
it's gonna be.
But if I had to pick somebody, man,
Colonial Charleston. That's who's doing it.
This is tough, man. This is
Would have
tough.
picked Rutgers,
College of
but they
Charleston?
wouldn't even make it. But
Rutgers always gets. They never make.
they hate us. They hate us.
Oh, they'll be good in the NIT,
Yeah.
which is
Should
a
be-
sad tournament. Not in the
Yeah, they'll
tournament.
definitely
I
get
know
a
it
spot
doesn't.
in NIT.
Yeah.
Rutgers will
What
definitely get a
happened
spot
if-
in NIT. I can't say the same for my Villanova Wildcats.
And what happened to that? Is it Jay
had a
Wright
hard
really
year.
tanked that organization, like that whole college basketball team?
Didn't
Is
they
Jay
win
Wright
last
leaving?
year, or weren't they close to winning last year? They fall off that quickly.
I mean, it's just I don't understand. The only thing majorly different is the coaching. I mean, that's the only thing that was the biggest change to Villanova was coaches, man. Was the coaching staff. Jay Wright retiring, I mean, that was huge. It tells you how important he was to that program. I mean, at this point, like I said, I don't think they have a guaranteed spot in the NIT, honestly. They had some really bad losses this season, Villanova did. I mean, lost to like the University of Portland, I believe, or something like that earlier in the year.
Can you
They
explain to the people what the NIT is for those who may not understand fully?
That's bad.
What is the NIT?
I don't know. I had to think about this a little bit more. I don't know who can be that special team, that surprise team, low seed. VCU always has a little scrap in them. Virginia Commonwealth, they're 12 seed. They're a 12 seed in the West region. So I don't know, a squad like that sitting at a 12 seed. I mean, they're potential. They're always dangerous.
True TV is broadcasting the games.
Yeah, man, they got to get that sports revenue. Listen,
It's
man,
true.
sports drives
Basketball is true, I guess.
Yeah.
After Impractical Jokers, you come watch the
Exactly. After Murr, Q, and South.
Made it.
Oh, really?
So the
Spiders
NIT,
made it too.
why do they have it? What's the purpose of it? Like, why do they have a secondary tournament that no one seems to qualify for or know what's about?
Well, it's called the National Invitational Tournament. The one requirement to make the NIT is you have to have a record over 500. So you cannot make it to the NIT if you have a losing record. You will be automatically not even included. You can't even possibly be included. And it's basically a secondary tournament. It has some level of prestige. It's not, I mean, it's been around forever as well. And it's just, I guess, it's a lot of we all know it's a lot of college basketball teams at the end of the day. So it's just another way after these first 68 that make it to the NCAA tournament. We give some more guys that still had a pretty good, solid year. Like I said, you got to be over 500. You got to have a winning record to be included in the NIT field. So it just gives those guys another group of teams an opportunity to still win something and make their season, kind of feel like it wasn't all for naught. You know what I mean? Not just boom or bust. You don't get to be one of the 68 teams. You don't get to play any more college basketball at the end of the regular season. So. I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's been around forever. It's not like it's something new or something newer. It's been around long as I can remember as well, long before I was even alive. I'm 45 years old myself. Like I said, it's just another good, strong, solid tournament. I do like the fact that you can't get into it with a losing record. I mean, in the NCAA tournament, if a team could have a losing record, win their conference tournament and get a spot in that field 68 with the losing record. So.
Of the conference tournament.
So at NIT, like I said, you gotta have a winning record, and I mean it's kind of fun. It's usually get some pretty solid games. You'll see some pretty good basketball watching in the NIT tournament as well. Gives you something on the off nights of the NCAA tournament. Gives you a little something else to watch. Enjoy some good college hoops.
Well, thank you for eloquently saying that, because not many people know the NIT and why they play it and why it's even there. Besides the ad revenue, it's just interesting to know the parameters, right? You play an in-game tournament, you make it to the tournament, so to speak, right? The conference championship in the NIT, you may not win your conference championship, and you end up in the NIT because you're winning record. So I thought that was well done. Thank you for answering that.
What happened
Absolutely.
to
I mean,
St.
I
John's
agree.
and Seton
I
Hall?
agree. Revenue has been around for a long time as well. You're right. I totally do agree. You're right.
Yeah.
Revenue
I
has
just,
indeed
I'm
been
sure.
around.
I'm sure they were thinking about back in when this was invented. Now, yes,
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly. What happened to St. John's and Seton Hall? I mean, look at our local schools around here in the area. St. John's just fired their head coach recently, and Seton Hall, they were an NCAA team recently as well. They've just nosedived over the past couple of years. And then Rutgers, I think they got snubbed, but they had a couple of bad losses, so that's probably why they didn't make
Rutgers.
it. So around our area, our college basketball teams are not doing well at all. They were changing
gotta
more
go out.
coaches
The
than were
Philly
making
area?
tournaments.
The Philly
Well,
area
I think it has.
schools.
I think it has to do with
Also,
the fact
man,
that
go ahead.
they can get to the NBA. These schools are bigger, right? They want a bigger pipeline. It's the same thing with the NFL. Why is Rutgers? There's a lot of people that go to Jersey that go to USC or Miami or, all these other colleges that are big and pristine. Yet you have Rutgers who can't seem to recruit in their own backyard. And so I just think it has a lot. I mean, the NCAA tournament, are we thinking about these smaller schools? No. You're thinking about Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Georgetowns, a lot of those big name colleges who have been around. That's what attracts guys to that. So if you are in New Jersey and you're like, I got a scholarship to go to one of these schools, are you going to play in Rutgers? Or are you going to play at this prestige school? No offense to Rutgers. I mean, they're like, I'm in the shadow of Rutgers. I'm not going to tell you where I am, but if you throw up the bat signal, you could probably find me, but Rutgers is right there. So I always have a rooting interest. I mean, the team started college football. I mean, let's be honest. But I think the reason a lot of these teams, Rutgers and a lot of these St. John's teams and Seton Hall, the reason they do that is because you can go now to the NBA or these bigger prestige colleges and not have to play in your own backyard.
Well said. That being said, great job on covering the NCAA, Mac, and great questions, Adam and Jeff. Let's move on to the Big Boys League. I know Adam and Jeff, they're probably going to be excited about this next question. So we got the Brooklyn Nets, 5-1 in their last 6 games, only losing to the Milwaukee Bucks, with Boston and Denver a part of the 5 wins. Thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets? How do you guys want to begin it? Adam, Jeff?
Well, I think it's great to see. I think this is what we needed to see as a Net fan. Remember, we were doom and gloom mode, but this is what happens. Sometimes you bring in players that give a damn, right? And the NBA is not like the NFL. You can compete in the NBA easier, night in and night out, right? And if you got guys who can play complementary basketball, which we will touch on in what I think Milwaukee does, because I had some thoughts about that game. When you play complementary basketball and don't have to feature 2 guys, you open it up more, right? KD and Kyrie Irving, they play a lot of iso ball, especially Kyrie Irving, right? And KD is more of he's like a catch and shooter, except he's a little big, right? He's a guy that you want to move off screens, get open so he can make jump shots and things like that. That slows down your offense. When you have guys like Dinwiddie and some of the other guys on our team that can move around and play many different positions, it allows the Nets to play better. I mean, that game against Boston, I was watching it. And they were down big, and all of a sudden they come back and look at the score, and the Nets are there. They have emotion. They're in Boston. They're winning the game. And I'm just like, wow, what is happening right now? And I think you're seeing a team come together, have not a lot of superstars, but a lot of good players, right? That kid from Phoenix that they got, you keep telling me, Markel Folk, right?
Mikal Bridges.
Yes, he was always good in Phoenix, but now he's going to be more of a feature player. You're seeing him grow, and it's good to see the Nets. Hopefully they keep a lot of these young players around, and then you can build your stars. Because then your free agents can come, right? Because they know you have guys already. The free agents will be like, oh, man, I want to play with Bridges. I want to play with this guy. Let's add to what we already have. And Nets usually give up so much and get nothing in return except like 2 guys and a bunch of scrubs, and then you're trying to carry this team. I mean, their window was over with these guys. I think they have a better shot at making the playoffs. So they're going to be a feisty team in the playoffs, and I like their direction.
I like that. And I want to point out before you go, Jeff, I know, we have teams like, I believe the Sixers are streaking. We have teams streaking, but what makes the Brooklyn stands up because they stand out is they traded their 2 superstars and they only lost to one of the better teams in the league in Milwaukee Bucks, but they also in the process beat one of the top 2 of the top 5 teams in Boston and in Denver. So let's hear your thoughts, Jeff.
And when you talk about them losing to Milwaukee Bucks, they played pretty much nobody in that game. They sat all their players, and they only played Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith in the first quarter. So they were playing with all their backup and role players, and they still managed to come back in that game and only trail by 2. But they just ran out of gas in the end. But the one thing I love about this Brooklyn Nets team is because it's about basketball now. It's not about stupid rumors. It's not about trades. It's not about drama. This team is just going out there and playing hard-nosed basketball behind a hard-nosed, old-school head coach who I'm really liking, Jacques Vaughn. And I think Jacques Vaughn absolutely deserves the contract extension that he got. Like Adam touched on it, Mikal Bridges, this guy's becoming a favorite player of mine on this team. Also with the fact, what's going on, Earl? Also the fact that I love what Cam Johnson is also doing for this team. The other guy that they acquired in that trade for Kevin Durant, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, I think that Dinwiddie is just a net through and through. I think when this guy is playing with the Nets, he just raises his game, especially what he did today where he had 15 points and 16 rebounds, even though he almost blew the game today at the end. But Dinwiddie's been playing great. Dorian Finney-Smith, the other guy they got in the Kyrie Irving trade, power forward, he's knocking down some big three-point shots. Royce O'Neal, who I think is one of the most underrated players on that team. He comes in, plays great 3-and-D, knocks down some big three-point shots. Even Joe Harris and Seth Curry, they're knocking down some big threes occasionally, when they get their time. And Nicholas Claxton. What else can I say about Nicholas Claxton? Defensively, even offensively today, he had 20 points. Claxton is developing into a great young center on this team. Dinwiddie's really controlling and setting the point. This team has solid depth. Bridges, Johnson. To me, Bridges, Johnson, and Claxton are the future of this team. You could say Cam Thomas too. I know people are wondering why Cam Thomas isn't playing, because he's a liability on the defensive side of the court. And right now what this team is doing is they're playing strong defense. That is what's setting the tone for this Nets team, is they're a very good defensive squad. They have length on the outside. They're able to knock the ball away, create turnovers, get in their own sets. And I think the one thing that they need to do was develop chemistry amongst this team that they have right now, because of the fact they struggled at the beginning because they just got all these new pieces in there and they needed to, build a chemistry between one another. And now you're starting to see just the tea leaves of what this Nets team is doing right now. And it's a beautiful thing to see because they're winning with defense, three-point shooting, and clutch play from their good players.
Absolutely. And speaking of good basketball, I don't know if Mac wanted to touch on this game or we can move on to the next game. Mac, you want to touch on this game? I know you don't really follow basketball, but if you have any thoughts about Brooklyn Nets going from, a team that is just a clusterfuck, excuse me, Jeff and Adam, to a team that's lucky and playoff bound.
Well, I mean, just to add on a little bit to what the guys were already saying, this Brooklyn team now they get an opportunity to show you what they're made of. Honestly, this team is not compiled of really any household name superstars anymore. No egos. Just a guys after the smoke's finally cleared. Now these guys got to go out there and show you what they got, man. And they're playing good team basketball, getting the job done. It's coming together, man. Like you say, you touched on Jacques Vaughn. I've been a Jacques Vaughn fan all the way back since when he played at Kansas. I've always been a Jacques Vaughn fan. The guy he's just a go-getter, and I think he's the right coach to turn this thing around for you guys. And right now, just be able to get the things done that you're doing. Like I said, your roster is not compiled of any, like I said, big name, household name superstars. You don't have a big three. I mean, you have your own personal big three, how you feel about it, but at the end of the day, you don't have any household names on this team. You don't have any perennial all-stars. So it's just going out there, getting the job done, playing good fundamental team basketball, man, and winning some basketball games. And right now, keeping your head above that water. So, I mean, that's all I got. Hats off to the Brooklyn Nets right now, just doing their thing, trying to put something together.
Absolutely, well said. Now I know we're gonna rewind time, but I know last night you boys was talking about this pretty heavily. Golden State Warriors versus the Milwaukee Bucks. I know this was a bomb game. I'm gonna let Adam begin, unless Jeff, if you want to begin, I'm gonna let you guys work it out. But let's get it. Let's talk about it. I didn't watch this game. But I'm gonna let the boys take it over.
I think I want to start first, if you don't mind, Jeff, because I think I have
go ahead, man.
have to ask you. First off, what a game it ended up being. I'm sitting here watching the tail end of that game coming in, right? The last couple quarters. And I'm watching the flow of the game. And Milwaukee at one point comes in and has like an 8-point lead. And you're like, damn, Milwaukee, your superstar's not here. You're playing this team. And they're up and down the floor. Then all of a sudden, somehow, Steph Curry hits a shot and basically the game's over. They just could not, the avalanche of points that came after, Milwaukee didn't have a shot. And so, Jeff, my question to you was this. I'm sitting there watching the game. I look at the 7th seed. It says on my TV screen. And Golden State Warriors are the 7th seed. I look over at the right side of the screen, and it says 1 seed, Milwaukee Bucks. Do you have the same feeling as I do when the Warriors are on? It doesn't matter if they're the 7th seed, 8th seed. They can beat you any given night, because that's what I saw yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
Yesterday I saw a team that did not look like a 7th seed. It just looked like, okay, we're turning on here against Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I absolutely feel that way, Adam. I mean, anybody at this point, if you doubt anybody on that Golden State team, especially the 3-headed potential all Hall of Famers, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, just stop. Everybody counted that team out last year when Draymond Green was out for a good amount of time. Steph Curry missed some time during last year. And, of course, Klay Thompson was coming back from back-to-back severe injuries. All you need to know is the heart of that team, the heart of those 3 players and the players they put around them. Right. That team, when it gets into the playoffs, they know how to step their defense up. They know how to step their offense up. You're talking about 2 of the greatest all-time shooters in NBA history with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, one of the best intangible players of all time in Draymond Green. You have a guy that was in the G League in Jordan Poole, who's just come up and become a really good player. And keep in mind, Adam, they didn't have Andrew Wiggins, who was a big player that they picked up last year, who helped them win a championship. Kevon Looney, who is one of those intangible centers they have. Ty Jerome, I think. Yes,
he comes in and steps in and doesn't miss a beat. I'm just like, I watch this team and I'm watching the Milwaukee Bucks and I'm looking at
Iguodala.
Oh, yes. And I'm looking at the Bucks and I'm watching them. I said, this Bucks team plays very good fundamental basketball. That's how you have to beat the Warriors. Pass the ball, get a good shot, drive the lane, and rebound. But they could not get a rebound to save their life towards the end of the game. And I'm like, I loved the fact that they had is it Ahmad Carroll? I think is on their team. I don't know if it's Ahmad Carroll.
Oh, Jay Crowder?
Jay Crowder, yes, that's what I'm talking about. I love that move because he plays 3 different positions for you. However, you give up on size in the middle, and Looney was just bodying up everybody and just kept going. And then all of a sudden, like I said, it took Steph Curry 1 shot, and then just in a blink of an eye, he has 35 points. And you're like, what just happened? They go into overtime, and basically Milwaukee had no answer for them. And it just was like, when Milwaukee is on, they're pretty good depth-wise. But I'm like, maybe in a 7-game series they have a chance, but the Warriors, when they turn it on, man, and they hit and they keep hitting the shots, there's no way of beating them. There's just no way. You just can't. Like Klay Thompson, they're shooting shots from the moon. It was incredible.
It's the heart of a champion, Adam. Heart of a champion. When you've done it as many times as that basketball team has done it, then you can't ever count out those guys. You can't, especially Steve Kerr as a head coach. You could say it's the players, but this guy as well. He's had to interchange players all over the place, and that team still gets it done. You've got to give credit to Golden State. And when they get in the playoffs, I have no way counting them out. They could easily. Who's Pryor, by the way?
Right.
Well, just real quick, shout out to my boy Dante DiVincenzo going 6 of 12 from the 3-point line.
Poyer? The Buffalo.
He means Poyer. He said Poyer, but I knew he means Poyer.
And bring it down. No, DiVincenzo. Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh, we're talking about Miz. I'm sorry. You're right, Max. Sorry.
Who the heck is Dante DiVincenzo? Is he?
He's the shooting guard from Golden State. He's
He's good.
Yeah.
And he's also Villanova Pride too. Villanova Pride once more. Doing a damn thing in the
league.
What is
that Kachuma guy? Like the development guy? The guy they developed, Jeff? I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Jonathan Kuminga?
Kuminga, I like him too. My bad,
He's
Matt.
good too. He's a good backup power forward / center. Oh, you mean Jordan Poyer, the safety from the Bills? Oh, that's a good pickup.
Yeah.
That's a good pickup.
Go right ahead, Max. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, I just wanted to acknowledge my young Villanova alum, Also he's also from Wilmington, Delaware, also from right around here in the area I live in.
Oh,
Went to
that's
high
his
school
name.
down here. So
Sorry,
yeah,
folks. I
just
don't watch him. I don't
wanted
watch
to give
a
him a
lot.
little
But
bit of acknowledgement.
Double D is how I'll remember him. Okay,
Okay.
that's how I'm gonna. His nickname to me.
He was
is
drafted
Double
by the
D.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah,
He was drafted by the
a
Milwaukee
Buck.
Bucks, but he
Double
just had all
D
kinds of injury
shooting
issues
the
there.
three.
He had all kinds of injury issues in Milwaukee his first couple of years in the league. He was actually the MVP of the tournament of the Final Four when Villanova won their last
So he's a decent
championship a few
basketball
years
player,
ago.
I'm saying. And he ends
What
up
I'm
on a good
saying
team
is,
like the Warriors.
he's got game. Yeah, he's got game. He can stay healthy. He's got game. Yeah.
So Double D comes in here and just plays outstanding, and they don't miss a beat.
Pause.
Poole comes in and he doesn't have a good game, but then
Jordan
there's
Poole.
something about them, man. Like Jeff's right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the serum that they take, the juice that's in there. But no matter what happens, this team can turn it on in an instant. And I'm sitting here, and I know that the Western Conference is far better than the Eastern Conference. We know that, and it has been for many years, many decades, especially growing up. Unless you had Michael Jordan, So to me, to watch the 7th seed, and I sit there with them watching the best team in the East, Milwaukee Bucks, who I think Boston could be the best team in the East, but they're very inconsistent. That's the problem with the Boston. The thing is, I don't want to jump to Boston, but quickly, Jason Tatum is a very inconsistent player, great player, but if he's not on, the game is over for them, right? But the Warriors absolutely different. You can have nobody on for the entire game, and then bang, like Steph Curry in the fourth quarter in overtime, just takes over.
By the way, speaking of the Knicks, real quickly, I mean, the Knicks are obviously the Knicks are going the other direction right now. They need to win badly tonight against the Lakers, and that injury to Jalen Brunson, that might be a season killer for them. They need that guy back, and they need him back as soon as possible because that's the heart and soul of their basketball team. And if he can't come back, the Knicks are in trouble.
Absolutely. And I know anybody have final thoughts about the game last night, of basketball in general, NBA in general?
I love this.
This is coming down the stretch. This last month of the NBA is going to be exciting. You're going to start to see the playoff teams separate. This is when really the NBA gets really fun. April to June is like my favorite time of the year for the NBA because you get rid of all the other teams you don't really need to see. Like it's hard to watch the worst ball club in the NBA because their building doesn't sell out. But playoff basketball in some of these cities is exciting. Portland, if they're in the playoffs, I love their fan base in the playoffs. The Warriors fan base absolutely destroys the building. I mean, you can't even hear the announcers speak when they play in Oracle Arena. So, I love playoff basketball. I think watching the Nets is bringing me back a little bit more into it. They haven't sucked. And I think to touch on this is my last point about the NBA. Maybe the formula is not to bring in big studs every time. Maybe surround yourself with one big stud and 4 or 5 good players, because what I think happens is you get so focused on trying to get those 2 players the ball that you don't get to grow your team. And you're seeing right now with the Nets, with the guys who love to play basketball, they share the ball, they all score, they have their different roles that they play, and it really is more fun to watch.
Adam, I don't ever want to see this team do another trade. They already did it to us twice like this. I don't want to see it a third time. They've already did it twice and messed up. Please,
if you want to trade up in the draft, like you got a lot of draft picks, right? And you want to trade up and go get a big time player, that's what I would say.
That I'm fine with. Yes,
right?
That I'm fine with.
Give up draft picks. Don't give up too many. Like if you have back end players, like you want to throw in the Joe Harris, a couple of those players in the deal, you know what I mean? Then give it to me, right? That's fine. But for me, like the Nets have done this where they'll get the superstar, and you can bring free agents here. Like you'll bring a free agent here because they're going to want to play with these young guys. And they're going to stay when you have the money, because everyone at some point has money to spend. They're going to be like, yo, why don't I go to Brooklyn? They got an up-and-coming team with Spencer Dinwiddie. I can fit right in, as opposed to making the trade to get 2 guys who don't want to be here, who constantly have headaches. It's like bringing back Odell Beckham Jr. Like,
and he's already hurt. He's hurt already.
Right. So, I don't know, man. It just, to me, well, I'll tell you how LeBron destroyed the NBA. LeBron destroyed the NBA by doing his thing, saying, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," because a real winner like Jordan never goes to the team and joins them. He'd rather get his ass kicked every time and try to beat you
Or
than
Giannis.
join you. Right.
Stop being stuck
Well,
in the
look.
damn past. Devin Lillard used to leave Portland. He's put 60
Oh, you're
points
just
a
saying
game.
that
in
because it's
Stanford.
your team.
It got us 2 championships. I'm forever indebted to
Look.
LeBron James. And the difference is the two goats. It's an argument. I know Mac wants to touch on this heavily. It's an argument. LeBron James dominated the league
No,
for
I don't
20
want to touch on
years.
that.
Oh yeah,
I want to touch on something else.
have multiple teams and multiple championships, and let's not act like Jordan didn't have superstars, good players around him. Would say he had good players around him and won those championships. Not trying to disrespect Jordan in any ways. He had nobodies in Cleveland. He tried Cleveland. He gave them a chance, and guess what? He left Cleveland.
This is why you young cats need to go watch
Came
that.
back and came
Phil
back.
Jackson's
Look,
gonna
Came back
need
and
to
got
take
the
this
money.
in your
That's
classroom.
a debate for another day. I'm gonna let Matt go, and then we can touch on our next subject. Let's get it.
Look, here's I want to talk about a thing that drives me crazy with the NBA, and it's one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of the NBA. And another one of the reasons is it's load management. Here I'm gonna read a quote from Charles Barkley. Go, wait a minute, you gonna make $70 million and you can't play basketball 3 or 4 days a week? You fly private. You got the best medical stuff ever created. People working in the steel mill every damn day, and I'm pretty sure they tired too, but they still got to get their ass up and go to work every day anyway. And that's part of what problem I had with the NBA is these guys making this kind of money and you taking nights off because you just want to take a break for the night. You just don't want to play because you're overworked playing basketball a few nights a week. Like, give me a break. I got to get up every fucking morning and go to work, be on my feet all day long, and I'm not even making a percentage of what you're getting for going out there and playing a damn basketball game. So to me, this load management shit is part of the problem I have with the NBA as a whole right now. I think it's just too much of that. People paying their hard-earned money, get tickets for a damn game. You get there and find out, oh, all of a sudden, no LeBron tonight, taking the night off because of load management. You know what I mean? Oh,
You're not giving my load of money back that I spent.
No Luka tonight. He's taking the night off because of load management. Give me a break with this crazy nonsense, man. I got to get up and be cooking food all day long and being on my feet, hurting body. I'm sure I want to take a damn night off too, take a day off, but I can't. It don't work like that. I can't just call my boss and say, hey, yo, boss, I need a day off for load management.
Load management.
They ain't trying to hear that.
You know what they're gonna say? They'll say to Mac, "Hey, you know what? You keep sitting there. I'll get somebody else."
They'll say, "You're fired."
That's 100 very premium take to wrap up an NBA conversation here on Premium.
You're
Take.
right though. He's right though.
Well said. Absolutely facts. I know last time we talked, there's been a lot of contracts signed. I know in the quarterback realm, so I do want to touch on those contracts being signed. But I am going to stir the pot a bit. Let me just stir the pot a bit, and I can begin first. Your thoughts on 3 running backs? We got Portland, Pollard. We got Pollard, we got Jacobs, and we got Barkley, all receiving the franchise tag.
Who said the running back position was dead?
Now, is that the NFL? Is the NFL disrespecting that position? Now, let me just say this. I'll let you guys handle the question. Let me just say this to begin. I feel they are. I feel that the running back position has brought in these teams out of the low tier teams. If you think about the Titans and where they were before getting Henry, and we can go down the list on running backs reviving these teams. And obviously, the quarterback is the most important position, and I understand about the position and why the quarterback is the most important position, and I understand how physical the game of football is, and I understand why these teams don't value the running back position as high. But when you see these running backs emerge, like your Derrick Henrys of the world, like your Barkleys of the world, and literally put their damn teams on their back, and not even, just being tossed aside when it comes to contract negotiations and when it comes to getting their money and getting what they deserve. And I get it. You could rewind time 6 years ago Where's the Todd Gurley's of the world? Where's the Devontae Freemans of the world? And I do understand it's a moving market. But at the end of the day, it's the effing NFL. You can rewind time on any position. People's not going to be there. Guess what? The greats survive. And if you look at the running backs, and I just feel that position has revived the NFL. I know it's a passing league. I know all of this fun passing, yeah, exciting, but it brings back that old school feel and that let's just run it down the next feel. And I just love watching the running back move. And no homo, that came out kind of sus. But anyway, I honestly feel that the NFL is being really, really disrespectful to the running back position, and that's just how I feel. And I think that's always going to be that way. But let's see what you guys' thoughts on it.
Interesting you went there, because I was sitting there watching NFL films or NFL Network today, and that graphic popped up about those three backs, Jacobs, Barkley, and Pollard getting the franchise tag. And I'm sitting here like, wow. And there's a guy, and they were talking about Miles Sanders. They said Miles Sanders is going to go down to Miami. There's some free agency topic. I'm like looking at this like, man, we need to relook at this, because I think the narrative needs to change a little bit, because you need a dynamic running back. But the problem is becoming is most of these teams do RPOs now, right? So they're doing a lot of running back by committees. So they don't want to feature the back. And because of the 17 games, you want to, not put as much tread on the tire. And I'm looking at these three guys, and I'm like, those are three of the best backs in the league. Hands down, bar none. You can't say they aren't. Pollard is a game changer. Barkley is, not his rookie self, but he's still a dog when it counts. And you have Josh Jacobs, who has really emerged and was emerging for that Raiders team. So these three guys should be signed. They aren't a dime a dozen. There's other guys like Dalvin Cook. You mentioned Derrick Henry, even Christian McCaffrey, who kind of changed the market, right? Because what are we doing right now? What are the fatal flaws of those three guys that I just mentioned? They're not true pass catchers, right? They're not the greatest out of the backfield. They are all good, right? Pollard's actually the best of the three. And I think they want to sign him. I don't think he's going anywhere. If the Cowboys would be dumb to let him move, he's their offense. But what a good back does, Zion, what a good back does, and you see it in Minnesota, you see it in Tennessee. It helps your quarterback, who may or may not be average. We can argue that all day, but it helps you out because you have that force. Look what's happening in Buffalo. The reason Buffalo struggles so much is they don't have a dominant running game. They have a running game by committee, but everybody knows none of their backs. Now, they got that Cook kid. He's going to come up. I feel he's going to be their feature back next year and get more of the tolls. But if you put a guy like Barkley up there, you put a Josh Jacobs up there, you put a bell cow, hell, you put Marcus Pollard in that offense, I'm telling you right now, you put Marcus Pollard in that offense, and the whole game changes. What'd you say, Mac?
Tony Pollard.
Tony.
Sorry, Marcus Pollard was a safety. I'm sorry. My bad.
He's good too.
Tony Pollard, if you put him up in that Buffalo Bills team, they have guys that can score from anywhere now. Yeah. And I think that's what's lacking in Buffalo, and that's what right now we have to really answer that question, as Zion said, is the running back position dying? And I don't think it is. I think it's evolving differently. And the problem is that everybody wants to get cheaper, so they want to get that Pacheco in the 7th round, which is, while yes, it's an anomaly, you can have 3 of those guys in your roster. Right? You don't always have a Barkley. You don't always have a Jacobs or a Pollard. And I think we need to start respecting the players that actually play well and pay them as such. And if that team doesn't want to pay you, fine. Go to somewhere else, earn your money. Because I think a guy like Barkley, who, by the way, is taking a step back in pay from the $12 million they were going to offer him, he's now taking a contract for $10 million. All right, you're taking $2 million off the table. He deserves more.
Well
said. What's your thoughts on that, Matt?
Well, I think it's not a dying position. It's just, it's the evolution of the game. You got to blame it on the evolution of the game here. It's just what it is. It is what it is. It looks like history. It just proves it's pretty proven at this point that it's probably the easiest position to replace. It's looking like they have a small. These guys, the shelf life just isn't like it's just not that great. Adrian Peterson's don't grow on trees. Everybody's just not a robot like that. Some kind of half machine or something. It's just that's just not the way of the position anymore. So it just is what it is, and it just, you mentioned the name, mentioned Pacheco. guys like that, it seems like you just pluck them off trees at this point anymore. I mean, these guys are late round draft picks coming in and making impacts. It just the way the game is, the way these quarterbacks passing the ball all over the yard. These offenses are just more high powered than they were back in the day, where the running back position meant so much more to the team. Now it's definitely a pass first league, pass happy league, and just it's the evolution of the game that's made the running back position a little bit less valuable, man. It's not that it's not a lot of talented guys out there, but guys, just some people aren't willing to necessarily just throw that money at a running back when they can go draft a guy like Isaiah Pacheco that can come in and turn the league upside down and get them in like the 4th or 5th round or something like that. So that's the way it's shaking up, man. It's just a position that seems to be a lot easier to replace than every other position on the field. We look at the Giants. We know how hard it is to rebuild the offensive line to get decent linemen in there. Unfortunately, we were able to get a good running back in here, but still can't figure the line all the way out. It is what it is, man. It's the unfortunate nature of the game, man. For the running backs, just not going to get guys to just throw money at them. It's pretty much the least valuable position in terms of finance, anyway, for sure, in the eyes of GMs around the league. So it's just the nature of the evolution of the game. Honestly, that's about it.
A lot of good knowledge in that take. Good job, Mac. What's your thoughts on that, Jeff? Question.
I mean, it's a lot. It also has to do with the fact that you don't want to just have one lead back anymore. You see a lot of football teams now. They want to have multiple different backs out there because of the fact, like you guys all mentioned, the development of the running back position. Also for the fact, like Mac just mentioned, it's a passing league now in the NFL. And if you want to have a running back that's going to have a lot more chances to be able to stay on the field and be able to contribute and be a possible long-term piece, you got to be able to be a weapon in the passing game. That's why Tony Pollard, a Dalvin Cook, some of these other running backs, they're pretty much, longer-term pieces because they can do more than just run the football straight up the middle. They have that ability to be able to catch the ball in the middle of the open field, or you could line them up anywhere like we've done with Barkley. That's why Barkley, I think they want to invest in him long-term because of the fact that Barkley is that dynamic type of player that you could line up in the passing game too. But somebody like a Derrick Henry or, like an Ezekiel Elliott and those guys, they're not exactly the elite types of, pass-catching running backs, so they're going to wear down a lot more. And you need to have another running back too because these guys wear down over a season more than any other position besides offensive and defensive line because the amount of hits they're taking when you're running straight up the middle into a linebacker, a defensive lineman, a safety. You need to have multiple guys out there on the field to at least take the tread off some of these other guys. So that's why, like, we have a Brightwell or we had a Breida, or we're probably going to go into the NFL draft and get another running back to mix in with what we have now. And in a way, you want to have diverse two different types of running backs. We have one guy who is sort of your bell cow, but like your north and south running back, and you have another guy who's like an east and west, like the Eagles. As much as we can't stand the Eagles, they had that. Gainwell was like their north and south guy. Sanders was like the do-it-all guy, and then Boston Scott was that scat back they had. You need to have multiple guys, keep everybody fresh, be able to utilize them in the passing game too, because as we all know, it's a passing league now. The running backs back in the day that can rush the ball 20, 25 to 30 times, that's not happening as much anymore. You're just not getting that in this new age of the NFL. You need to have multiple running backs, and you need to be able to keep refreshing, keep like replenishing them through the draft. Not a lot of people are going to want to pay guys, especially how much these guys get injured and wear down at like, 27, 28 years old. So, yeah, I think it's just a lot to do with the league that we're in right now and the fact that you need multiple running backs out there and a lot of teams. Why do you want to pay a running back 20, like 14, 15, 16 million dollars per year? Look at Ezekiel Elliott as a case in example. Cowboys can't get rid of him fast enough now, but because they paid him so much, it's difficult for them to try to like restructure his deal or keep him around. I think one of the reasons why Barkley is still here is because of the impact and leadership that he has in that locker room. And then it's another reason why he still remains on this team. But if he was like a regular middle-of-the-road guy, I think he would have gone.
I think he remains on the team because of the guy under center, to be honest with you. Because the same thing happened with Zeke Elliott in Dallas. They had a rookie quarterback starting, and they got this draft pick, this prized running back that they drafted in the first round, top 5, I do believe. And they rode the bell cow, and they gave him his contract. As Dak Prescott matured, they lean more on Dak Prescott and less on Ezekiel Elliott. Then their offense changed. Their offense changed from a predominantly power offense to more of a passing offense. So you needed a back that does more of that. The catching factor was Ezekiel Elliott's kind of worst or weakness coming out of college. He wasn't a back known to, make all the splash moves. So for that, I understand what everyone's saying. For me and the Giants, I think Barkley, if you want to put it, it has more value to me than Daniel Jones. Now, the reason why you don't want to play him, I guess, is because running backs wear down. I get it, and you don't want to invest in it, but receivers wear down too. Like there's receivers are coming into this league getting drafted, like every other thing we're talking about how deep the receiver class is for the last 3 years. Oh, you get this guy in the third round. So I think it's happening to all the positions. It's just a matter of who you want to pay and what team is willing to pay for that and going to build around that specific offense. You look at Christian McCaffrey, he got paid as a running back. He got traded and got paid for the 49ers, right? He's not making money. So it really just depends on what you're doing. For the Giants, Barkley fits a need. Now, the question becomes for the New York Giants or a team like that who are in need, because the Cowboys are going to be who they are. They're going to keep passing the football. They need to keep Pollard, right? I think it would behoove the Raiders to keep Josh Jacobs as you're ushering in a nice young quarterback or whoever you're ushering in there to kind of help them out as they get acclimated to the offense. There, Barkley is the question, do you bring him back? Because if you deem your quarterback is the guy that's going to bring you to the promised land, maybe you say, well, I'll take that $10 million and spend it elsewhere and go grab a back in the draft, because I think somebody in the draft or a couple guys in the draft can fill the 1,300 yards that Barkley put out. If you don't, then you have to say, okay, well, now I have the superstar. How do I build around him? Because let's be honest, if you bring in a superstar receiver and you bring in a superstar tight end and you bring in all these factors, do you need a Barkley if you have all those playmakers on the field? So that's how I would look at it, because like the Tennessee Titans, the reason they brought Henry, they built their entire offense around that guy. So that's why they do it. Not only that, King Henry, if he's on, he can carry his team. 2 years in a row, he carried that team to the playoffs. Last year, they had so many injuries, they couldn't do it, right? So it really does, I believe, be on the offense. Like, to me, Tony Pollard can't leave the Cowboys. I think he'll do fine elsewhere. Like, if he went down to Miami and that loaded team, I get it. But for the Cowboys to succeed, I would, if I'm a Cowboy fan, I would hate to see him leave.
Well, that's a great way you guys answered all that question, all those different ways, and I do agree with all of that. And Adam kind of stole my thunder. He says that a lot, so I'm gonna say it right back. Well, because I was gonna not necessarily rebuttal, but necessarily say in a sense of I wouldn't call myself dramatized, but when nobody had a problem throwing money, and it wasn't only the Giants, it was the Ravens that was interested in other teams. Like Kenny Galladay off of injury, everybody just wanted to throw money at him, like he was something special in the sense of he had good numbers, not great numbers. He had good numbers in Detroit, but he was off injury. And we see that around the league where all these receivers are off of injuries and getting all these big paydays. When it comes to, and I get it, every single team needs multiple running backs. When we won in 07, we won in 11, we had multiple running backs. But it's to the point where these special running backs should get their money. And when we see these special receivers or quote unquote special receivers rob us $84,000 a catch, and then you have a face of a franchise not even getting his bag in the sense of Jacobs, what he did for Oakland this last season, in the sense of Barkley, what he's been doing for the Giants, in the sense of Pollard reviving that running back game after depleted Zeke. I mean, and then you even can see like middle of the pack linebackers, middle of the pack lineman getting these deals that is like, whoa, why do you deserve that much money? Not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, whoa, that's kind of wow. And then everybody's like, yeah, let's just franchise tag them. Franchises, like the money back position, just, and you guys mentioned it and you guys answered the question and you guys did it so well on explaining to the league on the audience on why it became like, yep, just nail him at the franchise tag. We'll just find another one. And then Adam, to wrap this all up around, I wouldn't even be surprised if Bijan Robinson falls to Buffalo in the draft because of the running back position and the value, and just how much great players there were in this draft. So who knows? Buffalo might get that running back. That being said, we're going to move on to some quarterbacks that got some big deals. I know we all want to talk about Danny Dimes, but we're going to start it off at Derek Carr. I know the last time we talked, Mac has asked us the question, where do you guys think Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson's going to land? And we have one of them. So we got Derek Carr signs a 4-year, $150 million contract with the New Orleans Saints. I wanted to say I watched his press conference or what he said. It was like, I totally forgot. It totally slipped my mind that he has been to the Pro Bowl for years. Like, you guys must have forgot. Yeah, NFL community must have forgot. We've been getting a lot of, but I've been hearing a lot of like Derek Carr hate over the past couple of months, and you guys must have forgot that's a first-time Pro Bowler. So shout out Derek Carr. Go get your money. $150 million contract. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Whoever wants to begin.
I think he deserves it. I mean, I honestly, I don't understand why people hate on Derek Carr as much as they do. I don't think he's that bad of a quarterback. Is he great? Is he going to be a guy that's going to be putting up like, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, those types of stats? No. He's a quality quarterback that if you put him into the right system, he's going to thrive. And I think this is a good opportunity with him now in New Orleans, in really a division that's absolutely wide open right now, especially with Tampa Bay probably pretty much losing some of their players and, of course, losing Tom Brady. So, I mean, I think this is an opportunity for Derek Carr to really establish himself in the pretty much the prime of his career, to go out there and really reestablish his value. They just need to get themselves they need an offensive coordinator that can really help out Derek Carr too, because Dennis Allen, he's not that great of a head coach over there in New Orleans. So they need to get a good offensive mind to help him out. But he's got playmakers over there in New Orleans. I don't know what's going on with Kamara. It sounds like that he's going to be on his way out. I know Juice threw it in the comment section earlier. And Mike Thomas sounds like he's going to be coming back, but the dude has literally played 3 games in 3 years. He makes Sterling Shepard look like an Iron Man. But at the same time, like, you have Rashid Shaheed, and you also have Chris Olave, who are good playmakers on the outside. They have decent offensive linemen. So, I mean, I think Derek Carr, it wasn't even that big of an overpay. What was it, like $35 million per season, like 35, 36 per million per season? That's not that bad for a quarterback market when you see guys that could be commanding 45, 50 million per season. So I think that New Orleans is taking a chance on a guy that still is a solid to good quarterback in this NFL league. And especially with a weaker division, that it's not out of the question that New Orleans could get back right into where they were before, and that Carr can really reevaluate, reestablish his value around the NFL and around the NFL circle. So I think it's a good deal overall for Derek Carr, and I think it's a good deal for New Orleans. And if he doesn't work out, you could always cut him, and you probably aren't going to lose that much money on the contract. So,
well,
great talk.
Derek Carr, for some reason, Derek Carr's kind of falling into that the point of where he has to kind of prove himself again. I don't really know why. I think it's just this change of scenery is going to be really beneficial for Derek Carr, man. It's been craziness out there in Vegas, man. The John Gruden stuff couple years ago, and I just think Josh Daniels is a horrible head coach anyway. I think this right here, and as far as the money, I mean, he's definitely getting paid a fair wage. I mean, at the end of the day, he's proven to be worth what he signed his contract for. So I mean, I just think he just needs to get his head clear, let his head clear. Go out there, play football again, man. Be loose. I don't know. It's like you said, with the weapons, who knows? I mean, Chris Olave was a good rookie last year for him. The other guy, that dude Callaway, whatever, if he's still out there, he's definitely a guy.
They just non-tendered him. He's not going to be there anymore. They just non-tendered him.
Well, we'll see, man. Like you said, Michael Thomas saga. Who knows what's going on with that? Alvin Kamara. Then you can forget about Kamara next season for the Saints, and but you'll see what happens with Derek Carr, man. Change of scenery should be good for him though, and I think he still has a lot of stuff in the tank. Get to play down there in the dome, control weather. He ain't got to worry about too much bad weather games other than being on the road maybe a couple of times, depending on where he might have to go. So I think it's got a lot of advantages, and I think Derek Carr can potentially thrive and turn this around. And you said something that was also right on point too, Jeff, with the division. The division is arguably the weakest division in football. and it's going to be up for grabs. Who knows who's going to come out on top? Tampa Bay has completely fallen off. Probably looks like definitely going to be going through some rebound down there. Carolina knows what they really stand. Number one overall pick now, and so I think this in Atlanta, who knows, also another mystery of a team as well. So I think New Orleans has a good shot to going out there and winning this division next year because it's going to be very, very poor, and it's probably only going to take about maybe 8 wins or so to get it done again in this division. So I think New Orleans has a good shot, and Derek Carr can be a big part of that.
Let's get it. What's your thoughts on it, Adam?
I think it's an interesting move. I think they were a quarterback away, and they trusted Jameis Winston, and he failed them. I think Derek Carr is a solid player, more than solid player. He's thrown for 4,000 yards a ton of times. He's been a good player in this league, very good player, a guy that I wanted in the transition year if we didn't want to get rid of Eli. And when he was 28, 29 a couple years ago, I was like, bring him here. He'll thrive in New York. His brother was here. So I think he is a very good player, a very underrated quarterback, I do believe. I think there's a lot of ups and downs of his career, and no one praises him when he does the good. They only see him when he has the meltdowns, right? I mean, he played solidly for the Raiders, and then the Raiders were like, oh, we don't want your services anymore. So we're going to put in Jared Stidham, who, yeah, really, he's better than Derek Carr. Come on. So he goes to New Orleans, who, like I said, their defense is pretty good. I think he'll be able to mesh with Chris Olave. You already got Chris Olave there. Their offensive line is solid, not great. I mean, Andy Dalton wasn't great for them, but he did enough. And if you put in Derek Carr, he's going to probably be better than Andy Dalton. So you're probably winning 8 or 9 games. And like you said, they could probably take that division. So I think it's a win for them. He was drafted by Dennis Allen, so there's some familiarity with the coaching staff and the head coach that's there. So we'll see if they can we can see if they put it together with there. Sometimes familiarity helps. Getting out of a toxic scene. Let's be honest, the Raiders were toxic. He was a guy that you knew week in and week out Derek Carr was going to give you his heart on his sleeve. You didn't worry about him getting in trouble. He has had one season where he broke his leg. He was always out there for this team. And I think they're going to miss that, and they're going to love that in the Dome in New Orleans.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. And I like that fact that you brought up his head coach. I believe that was his coaching when he got drafted when he first came into the league. Yes. So that being said, that wraps it up on the Derek Carr talks. And now we get into the good stuff. I know there's been a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of good, a lot of bad, but regardless on how you feel, DJ is going to be our quarterback next season. Daniel Jones signs a 4-year, $100 million contract. We're gonna pull that up, and really, to be honest with you guys, I'm excited. The fact that we got this past us. Now we can actually focus on building the team around him, and the debate on should we pay him, should we not pay him, and kind of ended. I'm gonna pull up the contract right now, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Whoever wants to begin, let's get it.
I think it's a fine deal for what it is. I mean, you're only really essentially paying him 2 years, 2 guaranteed years for about $82 million. And then if he doesn't perform well to your expectations, you could let him go after the 2024 season. Daniel Jones wasn't spectacular last year, but he was solid for the team. I mean, you look at the touchdown numbers were low. We can't disagree with that, obviously. But he did rush for over 700 yards, and he was a guy that helped give us some game-winning drives. And the fact of the matter is you're not exactly committing completely long-term. I think it's an excellent job by Joe Schoen. I do. I think Joe Schoen structured this deal in a really good way. It gives Daniel Jones 2 years to really go out there and try and see if he can establish himself as the true franchise quarterback of this team. And at the same time, if Jones, for instance, doesn't have a good 2023, it doesn't mean you can't still go in 2024 and draft his quarterback replacement. Because essentially, if he doesn't play well, you could get a quarterback in 2024, and then you could have that guy sitting behind Daniel Jones for a year, and then you could obviously do the transition from Jones over to the new quarterback. But either way, I think this is a proof. This is what Daniel Jones, we knew he was going to get this amount of money. He was going to get around $40 million per season. But I think it was just structured very well. I do. I think Jones did I think I would have probably paid him around like 35, 38 million the most, if that. I wouldn't have paid 40 if it was me as the general manager, but at the same time, the fact that it's only really a 2-year deal guaranteed, and you could still get out of it if he doesn't perform well, but at the same time, you have those 2 extra years if Jones does playing like the franchise quarterback some really believe he can be, then I think it's a good deal overall. So I'm giving a lot of credit to Joe Schoen and how he put this deal together. And we'll see how Jones is going to be playing in the next couple of years. So kudos to the GM, and let's see what DJ's got in this next couple of years.
Well. Daniel Jones. This money, man, look, a lot of people have had some strong opinions of this all week long. I mean, it's strong opinions. I feel like I've never seen people talk about a player's contract as much as Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones' contract's been talked about this week. But here's the end of the day why I think it's okay too what Joe Schoen did with this deal is because, like you said, after 2 years, worst case scenario, after 2 years, we can still wipe ourselves clean of Daniel Jones and his contract basically for the most part. Also, look at this time next year. If Daniel Jones, let's say hypothetically, goes out there and performs at a near MVP level, this time next year, we'll have a top-tier quarterback getting very average quarterback money.
Yep.
I mean, so it's a couple ways you can look at this from a win-win standpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, we're pretty much on hook, like you said, for a couple of years. And that's the worst case scenario is if he goes out there and completely lays an egg, then we're on the hook for a couple of years, the $82 million. But like I said, if he goes out there and performs, Joe Schoen looks like an absolute genius that he got this man to put his name on this particular contract when you're going to have the Joe Burrows and the Justin Herberts and the Jalen Hurts. And at some point, Lamar Jackson's going to get paid too, signing huge mega deals. And if he's playing anywhere remotely on those guys' level, I mean, Joe Schoen's going to be the one winning. I mean, I'm just saying. So that's just how I feel about this contract. I think some people are just getting a little too bent out of shape over it. At the end of the day, it's really not like he just came out there and just broke the bank. He's still not like the top quarterback in the league getting as far as salary. It's a lot of incentives going on in this deal. Joe Schoen structured this deal, like you said, absolutely brilliantly. And at the end of the day, I think the Giants can come out of this thing winners big time, especially if Jones goes out there and performs. So that's all I really got.
Absolutely. Well said, Matt. What's your thoughts on that, Adam?
Well, I mean, I got tons of thoughts, but I'll try to give you the good ones and not the thoughts that'll burn down Twitter. But my thoughts is you're giving an average guy average money, right? So to me, Joe Schoen, I am happy about the contract, but I'm a little skeptical on Joe Schoen's part because to me, I would have just franchise tagged him, say, earn your money, kid. You've proven it one season. Now they're giving him essentially a 4-year deal, like they said. 2, I think there's, you're out after 2, but you still get some guaranteed money into the 3rd. My question is, if you were so, hell bent on him being the franchise guy, why not just give him a full 4-year deal and not worry about no outs? Like, why are we having out clauses in a contract? Well, here's my thought process. One is that the 2024 draft is upon us in a few years, and there's going to be a ton of quarterbacks in there. 2, you're probably going to draft a guy because you need one to replace Tyrod Taylor, and you'll probably need one to compete with the undrafted rookie free agent we bring on as a practice squad player to be the 3rd quarterback on the team. And what will happen is when he plays well or doesn't play well, you'll be able to get rid of him and say, hey, listen, let's go. We're going to keep building this team now and pay all these salaries. We have a young guy that's ready to go that we've groomed already and essentially make him a bridge quarterback. So to me, I think it's a good deal. I mean, I wouldn't have paid him that much money, but at the end of the day, I don't think they truly are saying, hey, Daniel, you're our guy. Here's the keys to the city, because they would have done a Kirk Cousins type of deal, fully guaranteed, whatever. They gave him 2 years with an out after 2. And guess what's on the horizon in 2024? A boatload of quarterbacks in the next two drafts where you can get a guy in the 2nd, 3rd round like a Bo Nix and say, hey, listen, Bo, sit behind him, learn the system, let's get you up to speed. And then when the team is good, We don't have to do too much like what the 49ers did. You can move on from him, trade him, and see what happens. I just believe that, like he said, 2024 has a huge guys coming out. And if you really liked him, you would have given him the guaranteed money. You would have said, this is our guy, keys to the city. The fact you have an out clause tells me that they know something. They're either going to get out because it's too expensive. And listen, they have a win-win. They can get out because it's too expensive. So they go, well, we can't pay him that much money, blah, blah, blah. Let's get out of it, right? They can get out of it because, hey, we need to pay more people. We have this rookie waiting in the wings. Look at what the Eagles did. Look at what a lot of these other teams did. So for me, I think the Giants were smart about this. I wouldn't say extremely smart because, again, I would have done the franchise. If I were the GM, I would have been like, yo, franchise your ass, prove it to me again, and then we can maybe talk some numbers. You know, you're third for 3,200 yards and a total of 22 touchdowns. They got guys farting that many touchdowns a season. Okay, so we'll see what happens this year. No excuses. There will be no damn excuses this year. I don't want to hear about anything, right? They're saying about bringing Nick Gates and John Feliciano back, which to me is good but bad. Feliciano is not the greatest center in the world. I do not know if I want him back. He could mess up the line like that. I don't want to hear anybody say, well, 160 yards a game it's cool. We're paying him $40 million a year just to be a pedestrian. No, I don't want a pedestrian anymore. You paid the man. He earned the money. Now go make me believe that you deserve that 4 years.
Because yes, he did, Randy.
We'll see.
Who's jailing, by the way, Michael Garrett? Who's jailing that got traded?
Jalen Ramsey. I'm about Jalen
Ramsey. Ramsey. Okay, my fault.
Absolutely, well said, Adam.
The thing about franchising him, though, if you put that tag on, put the franchise tag on him for $32 million, you're already basically saying, okay, that's it. See you later, Saquon Barkley, because somebody would have gave Saquon Barkley the bag. Somebody like a Buffalo, I would think that was my prediction. If Saquon Barkley would have walked this offseason, that he would have been walking his ass right to Buffalo, New York.
But you believe in the quarterback, so it wouldn't matter. That's my point. It's like you're getting all these weapons that Barkley, who we just said a few minutes ago, is a good player, but maybe replaced by a 4th or 5th round pick. So if you're franchising a guy, you're going to believe in him. Look what they've done in Buffalo. They know they're good. Josh Allen's so good, they don't need to worry about a running back because they know he can make plays. So if you believe in your quarterback, you don't need to say, well, we're going to sign you to a long-term deal to keep Barkley, who, by the way, we don't even believe he's going to be kept long-term for this quarterback. All I'm saying is that, to me, if I'm giving somebody money and a contract, I'm saying, okay, Barkley, I've seen you do it 2 out of the 3 years or 3 out of the 4 years you've been on the field. You've had 1,000 yards and produced, right? The 2 best years, his bookend years, he's had over 10 touchdowns, right? In 4 years with Daniel Jones, you just now eclipsed 3,200 yards passing, and people are happy that you can play quarterback competently. So for me, if I was the GM, I'm not going to just say, oh, well, you know what, guys? I think the owner had a lot to play into this. I really do. I believe John Mara was consulted on this, and he helped push this along because it went down to the 11th hour. I do believe Joe Shane was convinced of his number. He gave him a little more because I guarantee you John Mara was like, just give him a little more. You give him a little more.
I put something in the private chat, by the way, because Miz has been talking about this Ryan Kelly from the Indianapolis Colts. He's apparently going to be released or traded by the Colts.
Wait till he's released.
Yeah, I'm not trading him anything. They're going to probably release him. And Mo Alley Cox.
Do I really want their scrap heap now? Because look, we got Mark Lewinsky from that team, and he didn't do so great. So now we want another guy who's going to be released from there or traded.
He's actually pretty good, though. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and Glowinski was the weakest part of that offensive line. I think that's the reason why they let him go.
Is he playing center for us? Because I feel like the position.
Yeah, he'd be our center. He would be our center if we signed him.
Well, then I would just wait till he gets. I would just ride it out. If I would earmark him as a player you're interested in, and see what happens. If he's really, because the thing is,
I want a rookie center too.
I don't necessarily want a rookie center. I want a guy who actually has played center. There's a difference, right? You put Feliciano. The problem with Feliciano is not that he didn't play center. It's that he was learning to play center full time in regular season games on your dime, right? He took a few snaps with the Raiders here and there, but never played a game. This guy has played a game. So he's going to know the calls and the sight lines that he needs to see. When he's adjusting the offensive line to follow that Mike linebacker, as Daniel Jones calls it out, or whoever calls it out for the Giants. It's easier to do when you're playing a new position. Guard. People say, "Oh, a guard is easy to play." Yeah, guard is easy to play on either side because your sight lines are basically the same, just reversed, right? But when you play center, you think of a horse with blinders on, right? Guards and tackles, they can have those shields on. The center cannot. The center has to have basically a full panoramic view of the entire defense because they need to know who's coming where on what particular call. So for me, I think a lot that happened this year, Feliciano had to adjust to that. Nick Gates, I would put at center for the Giants. Personally, that's what I would have done. I moved him there and leave him there and lose Feliciano as a backup guard, right? So that's just me. But if the Giants want to do something, I wouldn't mind bringing in the center as well because I'm all about building the right way. You gotta, the NFL is about building for somebody's replacement. I hate to say that, right? You draft a guy to help your team, but if a guy gets too expensive or you need to use trade bait or you want to grab assets, this is why you draft a player, right? So you can eventually use him as a bargaining chip going forward. I look at Kevin Zeitler, for example, right? He was thrown into that trade with the Browns and the Giants, right? When they traded Odell there. And he was a solid player, and they blamed a Kevin Zeitler for all his problems. He goes off.
Sure, we'll talk about him too.
To the Ravens. He goes to the Ravens and is now doing phenomenally in that system. And I'm just saying, it just is about timing, who you get, and just having guys play the right position. And I think, to me, get a real center, man. Come up in here. Use some trade bait because the Giants have 10 picks now. That may not happen.
11.
11. Well, look, offensive line, though. Offensive line is about continuity, and it's about trust. You got to be able to depend on a guy next to you. And I think that's been some of the problems with, like, Kevin Zeitler and even maybe Galinsky last. Not to make excuses up, but just facts are facts, man. Evan Neal struggled last year out there at right tackle, man. And that's some of that is going to kind of trickle down to Galinsky a little bit as well. I mean, I think we probably got a better guard than we saw on the field last year.
I'm very happy.
I think he went through a lot of growing pains, and I think he had to go through the growing pains along with Evan Neal over there. I mean, like I said, continuity and trust. You got to be able to believe in the guy next to you that he's going to be able to get the job done because it's gonna kind of fall back on you a little bit as an offensive lineman. I know. I mean, I don't have NFL experience, but I got some experience. You know what I mean? In the category. You got to be able to depend on that guy next to you, whoever it is. Offensive line's got to be in sync, man.
Great point.
It's beautiful, man. When it's all working the right way, it's a beautiful thing. But like you said, you get a couple chinks in the armor, and it can just kind of disrupt the whole motion of everything. So,
but Mac, let me ask you this, right? Being that you're a resident offensive line expert. If you're on that line and now your coach shuffles you to the center position and you've played a year and a half at guard, it's going to take some time for you to adjust, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. And it's not going to take maybe a few games. It may take a whole season to adjust to that new thing because you've seen every defense as a guard. But now you have to see those defenses as a center, which means you have to see both sides of the field. As a guard on the right side, I'm never really going to my left unless I'm pulling, right? I could be wrong, Mac. But if I'm on the right side and I'm going to the left, I pull. If I'm on the left side, I'm going to the right, I'm pulling. But most likely you're on your side. And when you have your progressions as a guard, you go from your D tackle to your linebacker to your safety and hopefully a touchdown by then because you've knocked everybody out of the way. But as a center, now I have to cover those guys if there's a stunt that happens, if there's something that happens. So I guess what I'm asking is, it's not just an easy, you play guard, now you play center type of transition.
No, it's not necessarily. Like you said, center is like almost pretty much like your captain of the O-line, essentially. They got to make the calls. They got to be able to see the defense, understand what's going on, identify the Mike linebacker, all that good stuff. Make sure everybody's in sync, everybody's on the same page. The center is usually responsible for all of that, calling out the calls for the O-line. So most definitely, it's not an easy transition. You talked about Nick Gates when he first transitioned to center. His first year was a lot of ups and downs, and he got off to a solid start that second year at center, but then obviously had the horrific injury that stunted that season, and now he's kind of got to get himself back in gear. So No, I agree with you on that. The center is not a. That's probably the hardest transition is moving from anywhere to center because center has a lot more responsibilities in a sense from just making sure everybody's on the same page.
Alrighty. As we're gonna get back into wish list of free agents here soon, but we're gonna start it off with this one. I'd like to guys hear your thoughts. Aaron Rodgers is currently in discussion on becoming a New York Jet. Could it happen, and what does that mean for the Jets organization going forward if they get Aaron Rodgers at their quarterback? Whoever wants to begin, please take the mic.
I think Aaron Rodgers being their quarterback is, well, first off, it's eerily similar to there's two things that are eerily similar. If we get back to the Giants, I'll go down the path that I went down with Zion about that eerily similar parallel. But this is eerily similar to the Jet getting Brett Favre type of deal. Now, Brett Favre is a little different because he didn't really want to go to the Jets. He really wanted to go to Minnesota, but had to have play his contract out. So he went to the Jets, and the Jets were actually winning that year before he got injured. But I think this is one of those moves where, for the first time, if they get Aaron Rodgers, I hate to say this, the Giants become the backseat story. They don't have the sexy quarterback anymore. They're gonna, even though Daniel Jones right now is, the best a bunch of not so goods, right? So you're gonna talk to the best. I have other way of putting it, but there might be ladies watching the show, so I don't want to be cruel. But it's the best of the bunch. You know what I mean? He's the best of the rest. But now you bring in Aaron Rodgers, who obviously has a longer list of accolades and history, and you bring him into New York, who needs a little juice in what they're doing. It brings all the juice. I mean, this thing is I would say it's probably one of the biggest trades in the history of the Jets right now to be a part of it. And I know, Buko sent me a video, and he asked me, "Hey, Adam, do you really think it's going to happen?" And in the video, Rodgers is talking to Brandon Marshall, that is, and he's like, "Oh, can you become legendary by playing only like a season with the Jets?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm one of the leading Jet receivers of all time. I've only played there 2 seasons. Of course, you can be part of history." So, what the point is that, like, yeah, it's probably going to happen. He's leaning towards it. Whether it's 1 year or 2, it's just something that I think, I hate to say it, the Jets need, because right now they're in such a quagmire of a team. If they either blow it up and fail and the Robert Saleh experience over, they get this guy who has Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator back in Green Bay, right? Before he became a loon with Denver, that's who he was coaching. So now he goes to New York. He can help out him. And if you want to keep Zach Wilson as your backup to learn from a actual guy who Zach Wilson admires, that's kind of smart, right? Like, Daniel Jones was brought in because Eli Manning was here to be a mentor, who he knew Eli through camps and all this other mumbo jumbo. That's another reason why this guy is still here. But Zach Wilson's the same. He kind of idolizes Aaron Rodgers and looks up to him. They've met at camps and stuff. They seem to hit it off pretty well. Maybe this is the time for the Jets to get their guy in here, the A-Rod, teach this kid for the next year or 2 while you still have him under contract, and kind of guide him. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm giving a pipe dream, but I think it's going to be exciting if it does happen, and I think the Jets will take the back pages.
Good. Let them have the back pages. At this point, the Jets can have all the back pages they want. They can have all the headlines they want. They can have all the attention they want. Just because they're going to be getting Aaron Rodgers does not mean that it's going to succeed. They've tried this before with another a former Green Bay Packer quarterback who was up there in age as well. Remember what Brett Favre did? Remember Brett Favre went to the New York Jets all the way back in 2008? He was supposed to help take that team over the top. And what ended up happening? He got banged up, and that team ended up falling at the end of the season, and they missed the playoffs.
They were 8-3. You got to give them credit.
They were 8-3. They were 8-3, but then they faltered towards the end of the season because Favre ended up getting injured. I believe he had a banged up
tricep.
I think it was like a tricep injury that pretty much helped derail their season. I mean, the Jets it would be the one thing that really derailed that Jets team last year. And you can think what you want about the Jets defense. You could say they're overrated because of the competition they played against. The Jets really were derailed because they didn't have a quarterback. And if you could bring in a quality quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers, who might not be the same explosive Aaron Rodgers he was back in his heyday, but he's still a top-level quarterback. You put him into that offense, you have Garrett Wilson, you have Elijah Moore, whoever they get as another receiver. I wouldn't be shocked if they bring in like a Randall Cobb or if they bring in on Alan Lazard, one of those guys from Green Bay, to add to that, you got Tyler Conklin, you got CJ Uzama. If they could get Breece Hall back from injury, I mean, you got yourself the makings of a really explosive Jets offense. Of course, they still need to fix that offensive line, but the one thing that really set that team back is the quarterback. And the Jets have been looking for a quarterback answer for God knows how long. Some Jets fans are saying all the way back since Joe Willie. I'm going to say since Pennington. I thought Pennington was the last good quarterback the Jets had. Obviously, we know what happened with Pennington. He had the shoulder injury that really messed him up. But I think that the Jets, this is a good move for the Jets. It's the AFC East. People are not thinking about it. The AFC East is actually a little bit more wide open than people think. The Dolphins obviously try to make a power play move today by bringing in Jalen Ramsey to team up with Xavier Howard, but they don't know about their own quarterback situation, how Tua's going to be. Buffalo could be losing some pieces here and there on that defense. Plus, you're getting Von Miller coming back off of severe injury. And, I mean, there's even been rumors floating around about Stephon Diggs potentially wanting out of Buffalo. So, and then, I mean, that team's a little bit of a quandary as well, especially the fact they screwed up twice. And then New England, I mean, they just had Devin McCourty retire on them before one of their all-time leading players at the safety position. And we know that New England doesn't have the same talent as there. So the Jets, this is their opportunity right now to strike while the iron is hot. And they want to go out there and they want to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who might not be the same Aaron Rodgers he was in his prime, but he's still a top-tier quarterback that can really put this Jets team in position to not only control the AFC East, but be a team that could potentially be a top team in that AFC conference going forward. So I think it'd be a good move. I think it's going to happen. They just have to wait until Aaron Rodgers comes out of the dark, finishes up with whatever thing he's doing, and eventually says, like, I'm going to be committing to the Jets for this season. So I think it's going to happen. I think it's honestly a very good move for the Jets, but I'd be a little bit worried about it. I'd be a little bit worried about it because of the fact he's an older quarterback, and we've seen this happen with the Jets before where they bring in a veteran. It just doesn't work out. So we'll see.
Great take. What's your thoughts on that, Mac, if you're here?
I mean, yeah, I think it's obviously a good move. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. He started off a little bit slow and sluggish last year with his young group of receivers up in Green Bay. But as the season progressed, we've seen Aaron Rodgers start to just look more like Aaron Rodgers as the season. They made a push and almost got into the postseason late in the season. So at the end of the day, man, Aaron Rodgers, if he goes to the Jets, that's an absolute game changer for the AFC East. And it will not just be a walk in the park for the Bills. The Bills will not just have that clear lane to the postseason by winning that division. I think the Jets will be very legitimate, and it'll be fun to watch some Bills-Jets games if Aaron Rodgers does make his way to New York, man. It's going to be an absolute game changer. You guys pretty much said everything that needed to be said about it, so I don't really have much more.
Absolutely, well said. Well, we're approaching that time in the show, but we're probably about 30 more minutes left in the show. I know we started kind of late tonight. I know these guys are on the East Coast, so we'll probably be wrapping up here soon. But we got about 3 more questions to get into. We got some, movie question I have for these guys. We do want to tackle free agency for a bit. I do want to get you guys a list on free agencies and then your wish list on who do you guys want to bring in. And then our next question, we are going to cover the WWE for a bit. But before we go there, I do see that my co-host Jeff has been wearing an 87, a Sterling Shepard shirt, jersey all podcast long, and I didn't get a chance to cover to read into that yet, but it looks like Sterling Shepard is going to be back with the Giants. So let's just route there before we get into a route with the WWE. So Jeff and then Adam and Mac, do you guys have any thoughts? I don't know the contract, or I don't know.
Well, they just dropped the contract details. They just dropped the contract details for his deal. So
let's get it.
Shepard is going to be they signed him to a 1-year, $1.3 million deal with no guarantees. He can earn $152,500 in per roster game bonuses, and it's another veteran salary benefit contract. So he's essentially going to be signed to a $1.1 million deal. This is what I expected.
That is a mind-blowing deal. In the fact of the matter is, I'm going to let you finish. I'm sorry, but when you said 1.1, that is change off of the dollar. But what he brings in, and I had my thoughts about him staying healthy, but I'm looking at his brain and being a player coach. being a player coach for these young receivers. And hopefully, I want to see him back on the field, hopefully. But I'm looking at it, you basically got a coach for $1 million in the sense on what he can bring to this organization with his experience being in the NFL. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to let Jeff and the boys take it over. So my bad for interrupting, Jeff.
Well, I mean, everybody knows I'm like the biggest Sterling Shepard fanboy out there. I mean, I love what this dude does for the team. He is one of the most selfless players on the New York Giants. They're in and out. He could have just packed it away, gone to rehab, not been with the team, get better. And what was he doing? He was sitting on the sidelines helping out his young receivers and teammates. You don't think that a lot of what Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, and Darius Slayton were doing towards the end of the season, Sterling Shepard wasn't in their ears trying to help get these guys coached up and help them play out there better? I mean, he's the epitome of what you look for in a Giant. He is there for your organization. He is a spokesman for the organization. He's been a guy that's been here for all the losing. We know about the injuries. We all know when Shepard is on the field, he's a good player. He's always been a good player. In fact, he was off to a hot start just coming off an Achilles injury, and it's just unfortunate in the most oddest ways possible that the dude just ended up tearing his ACL and was out for the season. But I knew from the beginning. I know what this organization thinks about Shep. They love this dude. They absolutely love it, and even Joe Shane in his press conference talked about it. He says, I love Shep. This is one of my favorite players in this organization. And I knew for a fact when Barkley signed his deal and when Jones signed his deal, the tripod, the three guys that have been here since the beginning. If you want to throw Darius Slayton in there, you can as well. A heart and soul of this team has been Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Sterling Shepard. I knew when Jones and Barkley were coming back, Shep was not going to be that far behind because of his importance to this organization. And some players, no matter what you think about him, they transcend injuries. They transcend on the football field. This is one of them. This dude's mind on the outside, on the sidelines, is too important to let go. And we talk about culture. Who is more of a culture fit than Sterling Shepard? Period. And at the same time, here's the thing. People are forgetting to realize, and I've talked about this multiple times. He doesn't have to start the season. You could put him on injured reserve or pup if he's not ready to go. Sit him for at least the first 6 weeks of the season. Opens up a roster spot for another receiver. You keep Shepard in the organization. He's still there all year to coach up a young rookie receiver that you bring in. And if he gets healthy and can get back on the football field, you limit his snaps. You put him as a situational wide receiver. He's still the best blocking receiver we have on this team. Anybody remember that block that he put on, that he had that bogus call on the Dallas game? That monster block that Shep put on that helped spring Galladay open? He's still our best. He's probably our best route runner on the team too. He's too valuable to the organization. I know he gets hurt way too much. We get it. And we could have easily moved on with him. If we did, I would have been fine with it. But sometimes when you have a guy that is just too important to your organization, the way that he means to this organization and the way that he could still create an impact on this organization and the fact that he could be a wide receiver 5 or 6, who the hell would not want Sterling Shepard as a 5 or 6 receiver on this team, even a 4? That's a luxury. Teams would be killing to have Sterling Shepard as a 4th wide receiver on their team, and that's essentially what it is. So I think just that alone was a reason why it was not that bad of a reason to bring this dude back. You don't have to count on him too much. He could be a situational player. He could coach up your rookie wide receivers that come in, and he could just be a guy that could help out just the culture of this organization. If he gets healthy, that's another quality receiver you're throwing on the field. So that's just how I feel about it. And obviously, I'm happy he's back, and hopefully he can finally get healthy because everybody, no matter who you are, wants this dude to be healthy on the football field and doing what he does.
That was well said. Adam, Mac, do you guys want to add on to that?
Well, I mean, am I thrilled that Shepard's back? I'm ho-hum. You know, I think he produces when he's out there. Hopefully he's healthy. But his contract hopefully will not be fully guaranteed or something like that. Like, for example, like this, right? If Sterling Shepard comes back and is taking his time to get his reps, right, even though he looks good, and there's another guy you bring in because the Giants are need to attack the wide receiver position because they're bringing in guys with injury history right now. Wan'Dale Robinson, let's be real, has got another few months of rehab, at least this year, another 8 to 9 months of rehab. And even then, he's not going to guaranteed to be his Wan'Dale self when he comes back. So we're going to have to really throw a lot of players here. If a guy comes in that's better than Shepard, I don't want any sentimental ties or anything like that. I want to be like, listen, this kid's an undrafted rookie or a rookie, and he's going to be here long term. We need to cut a roster spot because, I don't know, tight ends are injured or something happens where we need to, downsize. Shepard should be the guy because you know why? I think he'll be able to land on his feet. I think if you gave him a chance to go work out with other teams, he can go do it. So not that I don't necessarily want him here, but he's injured too. He's not coming back early. Let's be real. He got injured in September, right? Early October, week 3, right? Whatever that was. Yeah. So he still has a rehab to come back. So he's not guaranteed to be fully ready to go yet. I mean, yes, he'll be by training camp, I guess, but we don't know how he's going to respond with that leg. So I just feel like I'm glad he's back. Good for Daniel Jones, but I don't want to see him over a guy like, let's say we bring in a Paris Campbell or something like that. Like if it's between those two, let's go. I prefer Richie James over Sterling Shepard right now.
I think James was going to get outpriced in the market. That's probably why they're not bringing back James. Well, they could still.
I like to say real fast. I know I touched on this earlier, but yeah, nobody's
You'd be surprised, Adam. Was anybody looking to lock up Christian Kirk to the deal that he got?
Christian Kirk versus Richie James.
I know, but James had a
Richie James was probably a librarian before he was playing.
Yeah, but Richie James is a decent player. He did well this season. Some team could think, oh, Richie James is finally healthy. Maybe he's going to finally develop into the player we thought he was coming out.
I like Richie James. I like him more. I mean, after the fumble, he kind of redeemed himself in the playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He actually had a decent return. Nobody talks about. He had a decent return in Minnesota as well. So he's got some juice. Would I like an upgrade there? Yes. But since we have nobody, we have pickup sticks at wide receiver right now. I'm going to throw whatever dart I can there, right?
I miss that game.
See what's
That's a good game.
I'm just saying, Richie James. I'm just saying, Richie James is a guy who already knows the offense. Oh, by the way, is healthy, which I can't say for Wan'Dale or Shep, right? I don't necessarily. I don't know if Slayton's going to come back because he may price himself way too high. You know what I mean? He may price himself out of your price range because I'm not playing for all those drops. He leads the league in drop rate, Slayton. So, but I do think he can be brought back because again, we're playing pickup sticks at wide receiver. Hey, anybody can get the job. Hey, Zion, how tall are you? You're 5'11", 180. Boom, you have a job with the Giants because we are hiring at the wide receiver position.
I'll go out there for one catch and make $84,000. I'm just $840,000 a catch. I'm just bagging on that Kenny Golladay. I couldn't believe it when I read those stats. But I think you guys made a lot of good points. I don't know if you was done with your point, Adam. I'm gonna let you continue this in a second. But I know I want to get Mac's point on it too. I just think what it adds and like what Jeff said too, I do like it. He's not going to be in the top 3. He can hopefully we want to see him on the field because that's my problem, and I don't want to overkill it. Jeff said it perfectly. My problem is healthiness. Him being injured. When he's on the field, he's outstanding receiver. We bring him back for that amount of money, and he adds it's kind of like paying for a coach without him having that coaching title because no matter who we take, because we're taking a wide receiver in this draft, no matter what round, we're going to take one. We might take 2. And we're going to bring in some free agents. So whoever we bring in, I'm hopefully that what Adam said, that doesn't, you're there to help these guys out.
Player coach, I'm sorry.
True, but at the end of the day, I mean, like he does. It's not like we're paying him $3 million a year.
If you want to make him part of the coaching staff, then make him a part of the coaching staff and say, "Here, Shepard, we're going to give you a lifetime job because you're a Giant here." All right, don't just sit here and pay him minimum money and be like, "Well, we're going to just keep him around because he's going to high five and say, hey, good job, great catch."
With the culture building, that's what
I get it. But he's
that's why Jones is here too.
Most of his time,
Jones is here too.
One winning season that he actually played. right? With 2016, ever since then, he's been a loser. So what culture is he really bringing outside that he's a fiery guy? Listen, I love you, Shep. Here's your gold watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've done a lot for this fucking organization, but it's time to move on, man. I love you to death, and I think he'd be a great security blanket. But how many guys are we going to stockpile at this position? Someone told me they want McCole Hardman, and I know I'm going off a bit of a soapbox, but he does the same freaking shit that Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard, and Richie James do. How many guys are you going to bring in here that do the same shit? We need a little bit more of that, different shit. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Wells.
What's up, Bill?
Well, if he's being a part of the coaching staff, don't give him a jersey on Sundays. Just call him a freaking coach. Just say we're hiring Coach Shepard.
You want him in a polo?
I mean, if he blows out his freaking hamstring, he's going to be on the bench anyway. He's going to be a coach anyway.
Oh, please don't say that.
All righty, Mac. You got any thoughts on this before we move on to our next question?
Excuse me, I'm dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties, but anyway, Sterling Shepard, man, he's just the true epitome of once a giant, always a giant. He's the epitome of that statement. I mean, it's like, no, at the end of the day, do I want to see him stay healthy, be on the field a lot more, contribute to the team actually being on the field? Would love to see that. He's just not proven to be able to do that. I mean, but he does prove to be a big part on that sideline, helping the young guys out. I hear you. You're not paying for a player coach. At the end of the day, that's just kind of what he is, though. It's just the kind of role he's had to just kind of embrace and take over. Because I tell you what, man, one thing I can appreciate about this guy is he tears his ACL one week, and the following week he's still out on that damn sideline cheering the New York Football Giants on, out there with his guys, man. He was out there every step of the way. Took the trip over to London with him against Green Bay. I mean, sometimes you just can't substitute what a guy means to the locker room. And Sterling Shepard definitely means a lot to this New York Giant team, this locker room. And then what he can provide on the field when he's healthy is pretty solid. I mean, so it's just a matter of him staying healthy, being available, and being able to contribute to the New York Giants on the field.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys, we're going to get back into free agency. We're going to get...
He actually is healthy all year, and he has a good season.
All right, I love that. We're gonna get into you guys' wish list of free agency, agents you guys want to bring in, and also bring up some movies, your most anticipated movie of the year. But before we get into those two topics, I am getting ready. I'm an avid casual WWE fan, and it's also Mania time. So I've been getting ready. I've been watching Elimination Chamber. I'm gonna watch the Wars and the SmackDown leading up. But I don't care if you guys want to talk or ruin anything, because I'm gonna go and watch it anyway. But I want to hear WWE rumors, news, what's going on in the world of WWE on the road to WrestleMania 39. Whoever wants to begin, it's 39, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, 49. Okay, 39. Whoever wants to begin, go right ahead.
I mean,
go ahead, Jim.
No, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Adam.
You know, it's funny. I thought about this afternoon, and I'm like, what's wrong with WWE? And I think there's an oversaturation of talent right now. They have so many They have so many people on NXT that they can bring up. They have feuding with. The entire roster is littered with guys who should be chasing titles and belts.
I gotta go back and watch it.
They just have too much going on. They don't know what to do with them, like the Viking Raiders, you know. And then you have Braun Strowman and Ricochet. What do you do with those two guys? And then you're over there, and then you can't even do a great build with Cody Rhodes. Like, you're just starting to build right now for him against the Bloodline. It's just they've run with that storyline so much that it's kind of killed everything else. And so because they used that storyline up the entire time and basically used it as their bread and butter, even on Raw, if that storyline dies, which it looks like it's going to, I want to see them kind of figure out where they're going to go with some of these stars. Karrion Kross, Braun Breaker. If I'm him, I don't want to leave and go to the main roster. I mean, my God, if I go to the main roster, I'll be buried.
Who's that gangster guy they have on that? He's like New York accent and everything.
Yeah, let me talk to you.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Love LA Knight. Love me some LA Knight.
He's growing on me a lot. He's
so good. He's so good. Remember he's a maximum male model?
Oh my God, I'm so dumb.
Yeah.
But Jeff, how do you feel about?
I gotta go back.
The Intercontinental title. That should be.
Oh my God, I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And we know this. You know where this is going, right, Adam? You know what's going to happen with this IC title, right? I think what's going to happen after what they did this past Friday night on SmackDown.
That'll be a triple threat.
We're getting a triple threat.
Oh,
I don't care. I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed.
You
tell
think
me
so?
you want to put Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther in a triple threat match and let those three just beat the hell out of each other and put on a banger of a match? I am sold, and that is a match
Well, then
of
who's
the
your winner?
year candidate. Oh,
Are you
Sheamus.
still-
First
Sheamus.
thing, right now they
Sheamus.
you got Sheamus and McIntyre going against each other on SmackDown to see who goes against Gunther. So let's just going to be another janky finish on that match next week, next Friday on SmackDown. We got to see how they go about this at WrestleMania.
I think it is, Mac. I think there is going to be some type of janky finish.
I think they need Drew McIntyre to be the winner.
The only reason why I think it's going to be Sheamus, Adam, is because Sheamus has never won an IC title. It's the only title he's never won in his career. So I think they want to try to build it up, especially the feud that him and Gunther has had and that phenomenal match he had at Clash of the Castle. They want to have Sheamus, who's literally been in the company for over 10 years, to be able to hold every single title in the WWE because he's had literally everything else. So the IC title is that one thing missing from him, and he's been a rival of Gunther since Gunther made it to the main roster. So that's why I believe that they want to ultimately have Gunther and Sheamus and McIntyre in the WrestleMania main event, and then have Sheamus finally after all these attempts be able to take down Gunther and become the IC champion at WrestleMania and get that big crowning moment for him.
Interesting. I didn't think that. I think McIntyre to me is another waste of talent. You have no direction with him. I mean, it really depends on what they're going to do with these belts. Because the Roman Reigns, to me, story is dead. I'm tired of Roman Reigns. You don't do anything. It's dead. The bloodline, I hate to say it, is not bleeding anymore. It's dried up. Okay? It's overused. Hey, listen, the NWO even got stale. Okay? One of the greatest factions of all time got stale. The only one that still has juice is DX, but it was only two guys that really carried him, the rest of the way, even though they didn't have those guys. But it's over. It's got to be over at WrestleMania. I don't want to hear any more about it because then when you get Cody Rhodes, you can do so many things. You don't have to have Cody Rhodes have the title for a long time, but you can have so many other chasers, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre. You can do a lot more things with it. And then like Bray Wyatt, like what is he doing? This is like what are you doing with Bray Wyatt? You bring him back to one of the most.
He's doing the Muscle Man dance, Adam. The Muscle Man dance. That's what he's doing. That's what Bray Wyatt's doing. A stupid-ass feud with Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar versus Omos. Yeah, we all want to watch that stellar matchup. Right, Mac? We want to watch that stellar matchup at WrestleMania.
Hey, isn't there a rumor that he didn't want to work with Brock?
Yeah, no, Brock didn't want to work with Bray. And he wanted Vince McMahon to be – oh, by the way, Vince McMahon booked that great match at WrestleMania. I can't wait for that one. Yeah, I mean, that's the rumor.
Yeah,
Bray Wyatt – I
Brock,
got aggravated with this.
If Brock Lesnar wins against Omos, great. If Brock Lesnar loses, what are you going to do with that big oaf? I mean, my God.
What can you do with him?
He's a big oaf that just, I don't know, man. But Bray Wyatt, he has this epic comeback. The crowd basically blows the roof off the building, and we have one match, which some people say was subpar. I thought it was kind of interesting. I knew it wasn't supposed to be a long match. They want to squash LA Knight and keep it moving, right? But it's like, where's the Wyatt 6 that we were promised? What's going on? Bobby Lashley, there is no build right now. We have 3 weeks there's 22 days to WrestleMania, and I've seen nothing with Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley.
No, he wasn't even on the show on Friday.
He had his Firefly thing up that showed quickly, but that was it.
It's so dumb. This has got to be Vince McMahon's got to be booking this crap. I mean, where does Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley have one? Where does this come from? There's no correlation between these two feuding with one another. And Omos and Brock Lesnar, who honestly is interested in watching that matchup? Honestly, you will really have to be stoned out of your damn mind to be a quarter interested.
That's one legendary match I've waited years for see.
Go fast, guys. Go fast. I know you guys are in the middle of WWE talk, but I know you guys are, slowly transitioning to the UFC. And next week in London, we got a banger. So if you guys need the link for UFC 286, just let me know. And I'd love to get Adam and Jeff UFC fans. But back to the WWE. Let's get it.
Sorry, guys. One day we'll come over.
Yeah, one day I'll try.
I mean, Brock and Omos is clearly just a toilet break. You know what I mean? Clearly a toilet break for everybody.
Yeah, it is.
That's when you go out, you do whatever you got to do. Go smoke your cigarettes. Go do whatever you got to do.
We need the intermission.
Yeah, that's the intermission right there.
And the match will be over when you're done.
Only be about 5 minutes probably, but you know.
Oh, you're being generous. You're being generous, man.
No, I think it's going to go a full 10. They're going to go in there. It's going to take 10 minutes to get to the ring, and then 5 minutes in the match. It'll be a 15-minute match, you know, just from start to finish. But you know, like for example, Edge and Finn Balor. We need the build up right now. I don't.
You're going to get it tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow, I think you're going to get the big match.
Okay,
put on.
Let's go because that's something I'm interested in, right? In terms of WrestleMania, I really want to see Cody Rhodes get to that pinnacle and really take those titles because I even though I don't like him as a champ, I think Sami Zayn right now is the hotter star. But you have to finish this story, which you need. Sometimes you need to have an ending, even if it's not the ending that you want. You can get to the Sami Zayn will still be hot after the Bloodline. So you can set Sami Zayn up for SummerSlam versus Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins needs to be back in the picture. The guy gets dogged out. You know, he is like the Macho Man of our era, right? He is one of the most underrated stars. Exactly. Like, look at that. He wears the outlandish clothes, like and they sing his song and stuff.
Best theme song. Love it.
Right. So you know. I'm just saying, and AEW kind of put me onto them singing songs. I think that, you know, wrestling's starting to catch on with that. But it's just interesting that you're going to waste all these guys. Like Austin Theory against John Cena. Like, I know we need John Cena because, you know, sometimes you need a legend for the pop. But, like, if John Cena were to win, which I wouldn't even mind seeing, to be honest with you. Like, Austin Theory, I know you like, but what does beating John Cena do? Is it a pass the torch match, or am I going to see him hold his hand up and point to him? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God.
I think a lot of people compare Austin Theory to the next John, like he's the next John Cena with like, you know, how Cena was when he first came out in 2002. Remember the ruthless aggression thing and then the Doctor of Thugonomics. So they're trying to make Theory look like that next John Cena because he's got that charisma. He's got the look. He's got everything like Cena did. And if we're over Cena, no.
He's not going to be I'm not saying he's not be Cena. I can see the trajectory. I see
Randy Orton in him.
I see more.
I see early Randy Orton in Austin Theory.
He reminds me of the reason why he reminds me of Cena is because of the same story arc. They're both kind of on the bad side, and eventually they'll figure their way out to get to that good side. But he needs to, if he's going to stay this bad guy. See, Cena, people started to like, even though it's thugonomics, because it became kind of stupid. And then one day he just became that guy, you know, that face turn he had, right? And they rode with it. He became the Hulk Hogan. I don't think he'll have that mediocre of a rise, but Austin Theory, I just feel like he looks like John Cena. That's what they're going to try to push. He's got the same kind of physique, the same kind of look. And Randy Orton is different because Randy Orton was arrogant. He was a second generation. This guy, I don't believe. When he's arrogant, I kind of start to laugh. Like, you're just kind of a douche, man.
He's so goofy. He's so goofy.
Right.
It's like Goofy Theory.
But the question becomes, will they like him enough to put him over?
I think so. I think they've really done an excellent job rebuilding him.
I mean, the crowd.
The crowd is getting on him as a heel. They don't like Austin Theory at all. They boo him all the time. He comes off like a cocky, arrogant heel, and he feels like he's going to become one of those next big stars in the WWE. It's clear as day. The people behind the scenes really like Austin Theory a lot. They think he's going to be the future of that company. He has the look. He has the charisma. He's a very good wrestler in the ring. He has it all to become the next big star in that company. So, and a win against John Cena, that's going to cement him as, like, you know, a guy that's ready to take that next step. When you beat a guy like Cena, you've beaten guys like Lashley, you've beaten guys like Rollins, you've beaten guys like Edge. That right there cements you as becoming one of those next big stars. And you know, eventually, you know what they do in wrestling? When you have that mid-card title, you continue to build yourself up until eventually you're ready to make that jump to the main event. So you eventually drop the mid-card title to another person that's ready to build himself up, and you get catapulted to the main event. I think that's what they're doing with Austin Theory right now. But I have one criticism I have to make right now, and this is what's really also been bothering me. What the hell are they doing with this women's division? This women's division has been absolute a mitigated disaster with the build that they've been trying to do. Bianca Belair and Asuka have been too busy pointing at the damn sign more than actually building up a feud. And Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, are you just telling me that they're not bringing up anything from the past? They're not really engaging in a story or anything? Dominic feels more important in this storyline than Charlotte and Rhea do. And I like what Dominic is doing right now. He's been great. But Rhea and Charlotte, it's like they're banking on these people to have a great match, and they damage control. Don't even get me started about them. They've been damaged for months. And I mean, Lita and Trish, what are we doing here?
Well, you bring up a good point, because I thought they were going to be good, but you see the effects of Sasha Banks leaving and people like that, because you don't have anywhere to go. Again, it's like the WWE women's is also oversaturated because they have nowhere to go. Shotzi's not hitting the way she needs to hit, right?
No.
Liv Morgan, they love Liv Morgan, but they don't know. I don't know why they're not putting her back in the main event picture. So she must have done something behind the scenes where, again, I don't know if she's part of the Wyatt Six or anything like that. I don't know where they're going with her. Alexa Bliss, you kind of squashed her because now you don't know what she's doing. So they have nobodies. And Asuka should win the title, and maybe this is the thing, right? I'm telling the WWE needs to split the belts up for the men, but now that I look at the split belts with the women, it's causing all this chaos.
I hate it.
And what they need to do is just make an intercontinental title for the women and one champion, right?
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that. You're right.
Or a USA title or something like that, where you can have multiple women have titles that mean more than just chasing, because you're always chasing. And the other thing is, like, Charlotte Flair is like the default champion. It's like, well, we don't have anybody, so it's either Ronda Rousey or Charlotte Flair, because they don't want to put it on Shayna Baszler for whatever reason. Okay, every time that they're desperate, they put it on Rousey and she goes against somebody. Carmella is washed. We know Carmella is not the greatest. They just it's no direction. Now I do like
about Nikki Cross or Piper Niven or one of these women that are.
Do you really want to put? Listen. No, all due respect to Piper Niven, you're not giving that lady the title. Okay?
I think she's going to win the title eventually.
At some point, she will. That bigger Irish chick.
She's good. Yes. She's not bad for a.
She's a good wrestler.
She's a good wrestler.
Give the title to that crazy Cross girl.
She's good. Yeah, Cross is good when you book her right.
So wait, real fast. I know you guys are in the middle of a conversation, but Banks left the company.
Yeah, she's in New Japan right now. She's the IWGP Women's Champion right now with New Japan. There's rumors she might go to AEW for a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, to me, the WWE's been no build for WrestleMania, which is one of the shows I look forward to every year. The Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series are my four that I go to no matter what. If I miss a pay-per-view like Clash of the Castle, I'm not going to, it's not going to hurt my reputation. I can always get it again. But those are the kind I like to tune into. And I think the 2 days is killing the WWE right now because they have to fill 4 hours of content, 8 hours of content on back-to-back days. And it's weakening the storylines because usually back in the day, you had this build-up, this grandioso,
great night.
Austin,
yeah, exactly.
The Rock versus this guy, Edge versus The Undertaker, because you built it up for 6 months to culminate at the Clash of the Immortals. Now, because you're like, we're WWE, we don't give a shit, we're going to shove all this product down your throat, you're losing it, and you're bringing back stars who are doing nothing. John Cena's there for a pop and to pass the torch. Becky Lynch is there running with Lita. Really, do I believe Lita? Like, don't get me wrong, I like older people winning titles. If you're going to bring them back, they shouldn't do the same things. They shouldn't just be right. Trish Stratus, like, I like those things, but do something with them. Keep them around for a little while. Like, Edge, to me, like, I know he's about to go out, probably at 50, probably maybe 51. He has, maybe a year and a half left. I'd love to see that guy get one more title shot, title reign, just to say, you never lost the title. Here is a title for you to lose or go out in the way you need to go out. You know what I'm saying? And just do that. Like, you could make so much magic here. And I just feel like WrestleMania is going to be good, but it won't be epically good unless somebody steals the show, like a Kevin Owens or, that type of match.
I think there's matches that are going to have the potential to steal the show. There's a lot of good matches that are being built up. And we said the same thing about Revolution, Adam. When we talked about the build of Revolution for AEW, The build was sucked. There was nothing intriguing about it. They really didn't advance any storylines. There was no like actual, development or anything besides MJF and Bryan Danielson. But the show ended up kicking ass because everybody went out there and worked an incredible show. And I think WrestleMania is going to be the same thing. I don't think it's going to be Revolution good, but I think it's going to be very good overall because the talent you have on the roster. It's just like there's no investment right now. It seems like all the investment in WrestleMania is going to the bloodline, whether it's Cody and Roman or whether it's Sammy and Owens against the Usos, and then you have Solo in the background, Paul Heyman. It's like everything else just seems a little bit non-obsolete. I would say
it takes over. It's taking over.
The next intriguing storyline is probably Finn Balor and Edge, and I've actually liked that whole thing going on between Edge and Finn Balor and the Judgment Day with them. I just want to see what the climax is. It's going to be phenomenal because I think I know where it's going. I think with the match, I think we're going to get a very, very special match at WrestleMania. I really do. But
maybe a Hell in a Cell, hopefully.
That's what I'm thinking. That's one thing. But Mac, you've been a little quiet on this subject. What do you think about the whole WrestleMania build, and what do you think overall about the WrestleMania build? What you like, what you don't like, and just everything WWE.
Well, I'm looking forward to maybe the bloodline thing kind of coming to a conclusion. I think it is time to put a bow on that. I'm obviously looking forward for Finn and Edge, maybe wrap this big feud up. It's been definitely one of the best stories in WWE for the last few months. Obviously, I hope it is something like you guys said, a Hell in a Cell match. That would be pretty cool, pretty tight. And then I don't know. I just want to hope these guys can come out here, a little less of the bullshit. Let's put on a good wrestling show, man. Because at the end of the day, that's what AEW goes out there and does on their pay-per-views. They give you a good wrestling show, you know what I mean? They give you something that you really can sink your teeth into and enjoy. We already got, obviously the dud of a match with the Brock Lesnar and Omos, a match nobody wants to see. And we just hope that can limit this to being the only one. I'm actually looking forward to that Logan Paul Seth Rollins match. I think that match could be a potential. Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be because Logan Paul has shown that what he can do in the ring, and he seems like he's kind of a prodigy in there, like it's like a natural, So, I mean, like this is what he should be doing instead of doing his little podcast, all his podcasts and everything. I mean, he's got all his YouTube followers now. He can go ahead and hop in that ring, be a full-time performer, man, because he entertains me every time he's out there. I mean, when they did that spot in the Royal Rumble with Ricochet, I still can't get that out of my mind, man. That was absolutely nuts, you know what I mean? Then to go into the Elimination Chamber and hit Seth Rollins with his stomp, with the stomp. I mean, that was I'm looking for that match.
They're going to put on a great match, and the build is great for that.
That match could definitely steal the show for real.
Seen a highlight of him
whatever night it's on
this past Monday, so I did as well.
Well, the heat.
So I just.
Yes, and they did it right by making him a heel and not keeping him as a babyface.
Yeah, definitely curious to see what happens with the Intercontinental title, man. Gunther has had an epic Intercontinental title run, and we'll see. I'm praying for the triple threat match because that'll be an absolute banger. We saw what we got at Clash of the Castle with him and Sheamus one-on-one, and if you can get a triple threat match, add Drew to the equation in this one, man. This match is going to be crazy, hard hitting. It's going to be not for the weak of heart, man. Absolutely. So just a lot of good stuff on here, man. Like you said, the women's matches, they're not really building them properly, but they don't. That's how they do women's wrestling anymore. It's like the Bianca Asuka match has virtually no build whatsoever, and Charlotte Ripley is very, very minimal. And then this 6-woman match, okay, it's cool. Trish Stratus back, okay, Hobby Damage Control, whatever. But at the end of the day, what are the women tag team titles? They're nothing. Those titles mean absolutely nothing. Like I said, Lita and Becky Lynch may not defend those titles until SummerSlam for the way they treat those titles. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're a waste of a championship belt. And but it's a lot of good stuff WrestleMania has got coming. And this Dominic and Rey Mysterio thing, I'm sure that hasn't been officially made yet, but we know we're getting that as well. Dominic and Rey Mysterio is gonna, could possibly be Rey Mysterio's final match as he's getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. Who knows? where they're going with that. So looking forward to WrestleMania, man. It's always usually a little better than expected. You always think you're gonna be a little disappointed, but it usually comes through. I mean, there's always gonna be a couple duds on the card. The 2 night thing, it's gonna be a couple duds, but at the end of the day, it's usually a pretty good show. I know I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it the last couple of years in particular, especially. So I look forward to the whole damn weekend. And I look forward to it being in Philly next year, man, because I'm actually try to attend since it's right there, right in my backyard, So
And they're gonna load up that
Let's go.
card,
Road
Matt.
trip.
They're gonna load up that card in the WrestleMania 40. I mean the 40th
trip.
anniversary.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It'll be maybe that's my birthday present to myself.
Mhm.
We also
40
you should meet
years.
Mac there and go watch WrestleMania 40. It's 40th anniversary in Philadelphia. That'd be awesome. Let's move on, guys. That was a great. Thank you guys all for giving them great topics on WWE. Well, to WrestleMania, I believe Adam said
Nice.
20
We get
days
fired up
ago.
about wrestling. We can't help it.
You guys are awesome. We had a lot of questions, guys. So we are not gonna get into the UFC, but I know the comments been going crazy about it. So yes, Usman versus Edwards is this Saturday, guys. Jan just lost last night. We're not really probably gonna get into that, but we are probably gonna ask Mac real fast. Who do you got in that, Mac? Before we move on to our next question.
I got Usman all day, man. Usman. Right now, I gotta see it to believe it, man. So I got Usman.
Usman, I got Usman too, but I won't be surprised if Edwards, and I won't be mad if Edwards wins. We got 2 final questions. I just want to list, guys. I don't care if you guys go into points. You guys are more than welcome to go into points and make a point. Well, at least 3 to 5 players that you guys want to see the Giants acquire in free agency. What is your free agent wish list? Let's begin with Mac.
I mean, I don't know so much about specific players. I'm still not even really sure who all are free agents, like that. I just know I want to see these linebackers get addressed, and I want to see the receiver position get a little bit of an upgrade. And I want to definitely continue to build on this offensive line, whether that's through the draft or through some more free agents and defensive line depth. Those are like main spots I want to address. I think we got a good players and young players in the secondary. I'm not saying we don't go after anybody by no means. You always keep upgrading no matter what. But right now I want to definitely see linebackers get addressed. Tremaine Edmonds, the guy from the Bills, definitely is a guy I would love to see become a New York Football Giant. Man, we'll see though. We'll see what happens. But definitely get them line. We need upgrade in the linebacker category, man. Our linebackers are weak, and they hurt us a lot last year defensively. I feel like they had a big part of. They were just a big part of our failures. Some of our failures we had defensively last year, and like I said, D-line depth is definitely also key, man. Because Dexter and Leonard Williams, man, those guys could do a lot more if they could just be a little bit more fresh on the field.
Absolutely, and you guys can answer it the same way Mac answered it. You guys don't have to give names, but is there any positions or any key things that you guys want to see us fix this offseason in free agency? Adam or Jeff, whoever wants to.
The wide receiver core needs to be upgraded. Like I said, that we have pickup sticks going there. I think they're going to address it in the draft, and I think a guy like Shepard should be on the low end of the totem pole, especially if he's not ready to go by the start of the year. You can always let him go. I think the culture thing, while I love it, it's a little overrated, but that's one thing. The thing I think they're going to do is I would like to see them get Tremaine Edmonds. I would love to see that linebacker here, 24 years old, had 100-something tackles last year, would really upgrade the defense. But I think you're going to get a guy like T.J. Edwards from Philadelphia or a guy like Drew Tranquil, who I really like as well. I mean, I know there's a guy Jeff might know from the Titans. I think that's a guy that he and Miz are pretty high on. But for me, just get those guys lined up. And you have 11 picks in the draft too. So right now the Giants need to get to 90 players. Let's see what they do. There's upgrades across the roster. If you see a player that's better than Jihad Ward, see, Jihad Ward's funny, right? He's a free agent, but he's one of those culture guys. See, if you wanted to tell me that you want to keep Jihad Ward over Sterling Shepard, I'd agree with you there because the guy played. He's somewhat useful. He's a bit player. I don't think he's going to go more than I think the Giants won't be his last team, but he'll be one of those players that plays special teams, spot starter. He eventually lost his job, but if you can find an upgrade, because they're looking at Davenport, that would be my replacement for Jihad Ward. But other than that, maybe a tight end, a cheap one. Don't get Irv Smith. Someone said they were going to go after Irv Smith. I don't know if I like that move, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Jeff, is there any free agents that you want to bring in? Or is there obviously the positions you can cover as well? Is there any positions that you think that the Giants need to focus on in free agency?
Well, I mean, Adam and Mac just pretty much said the position I want them to attack in free agency, and it seems like the one they're going to go after, and that's linebacker. There's a couple of guys that are out there that I wouldn't mind going after. Okereke from Indianapolis, Tranquil, that's another one. Or Jermaine Pratt from the Cincinnati Bengals is another player. David Long, the one from the Titans you were just mentioning, Adam. He's that top quality young player I would look to. Edmonds, I see with the linebacker position, Edmonds is going to cost a lot. TJ Edwards from the Eagles is another player they're looking to potentially target. He had 100-plus tackles this past season. I wouldn't even mind if the Giants get 2 quality linebackers that aren't maybe going to cost as much as like if you get a Tremaine Edmonds, who might be the best linebacker out of the bunch, but he's going to be costing you a lot more. Why not get depth and get 2 quality guys? In terms of that, maybe a veteran cornerback if you don't want to get a young cornerback on the outside opposite of Dory, or if you don't think Aaron Robinson is the answer there, or if you want to keep Flott in the slot. There's a nice little segue right there. If you want to have like a veteran cornerback like a Marcus Peters, you can maybe get somebody like that. He is an aggressive cornerback, and he knows Wink Martindale's defensive system. Maybe a low-end wide receiver. If you want to bring back Darius Slayton, that's fine. Maybe like a Paris Campbell, like you talked about, a DJ Chark. That's another guy. Hell, I think our own buddy Dalvin Tomlinson is a free agent this offseason.
Mm-hmm. Let's just bring all the Giants back.
Yeah, but Adam Tomlinson was healthy and he was terrific. I would actually, if he's not going to cost too much, right, I would bring back Dalvin Tomlinson as defensive line depth, and he could eventually be a guy that could replace Leonard Williams if he gets too banged up. So I mean,
like
just
Braxton Berrios.
I like Berrios too. That's another one. You bring him in as a returner and a guy that.
Well, if you're going to bring him in and Cole Beasley, bring in Berrios.
No, I'm not bringing in Cole Beasley. I don't want Cole Beasley. You already have Shepard back. You don't need 2 older, banged-up wide receivers. You already have Shep. Beasley can go somewhere else. Berrios, I'm fine with. He could be a returner. It could be like a low of the totem pole, wide receiver. So I have no problem with that. But
do you guys know what Jacoby Myers is asking for?
I think he's asking for a lot, like 17, 18 million. I think
he knows he's the best in the market.
Yeah, he's the top receiver, I believe, on the market. So he's going to ask for a lot. I don't want him. He's a slot receiver, too. We need an outside guy.
Would you want a Brandon Ayuk?
Yes,
I
do.
love Brandon Ayuk.
Yes,
absolutely.
I do. I would love a Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins or even a Michael Pittman Jr., Adam. I love a Michael Pittman Jr.
Oh, absolutely
what
as well.
What draft pick are you willing to part ways with to say this is compensation enough? I'm happy. Because for me, I still think of Jerry Jeudy if he was on the market and you can use the second round pick. I'd be like, listen, I'll give you my second pick right now. You can pick whoever, and I'll take Jerry Jeudy right now. I would have done it last year if I knew I was going to sign Daniel. I would have done it last year and made this transition easier. But I was just wondering your thoughts on like a guy like Ayuk, and would you give up draft capital?
I think like maybe I don't even know if he's going to cost a second-round pick because he is a first-round pick.
I'll give a third and a fifth. Not this year. Not this year. But third pick, sorry, real fast, Jeff. I'm my bad for interrupting you. I'll give a third this year and a fifth next year to wrap that up because exactly what Jeff said. I don't think I think Ayuk could be worth the second round pick, but I don't think we need to give up a second round pick to get him. I think a third this year, we have 2, and I think a fifth next year would be a reasonable asking price for Ayuk. And on that, Jeff, go.
I mean, the only guy I would honestly give up a second-round pick for, if I had it was probably I would like to get a first-round pick. I'd think about it. Is T. Higgins because I think T. Higgins is a legit number 1 wide receiver. He's just got that monster on the opposite side named Jamar Chase. I think if that guy is breaking news, Giants tried everything to get Jeudy. Teams are not willing to just get yeah, but I mean, like, what is Jerry Jeudy's worth right now? I mean, you saw what Jalen Ramsey
did they try everything? Because what is everything?
Yeah,
how much are they asking?
Jalen Ramsey was just got for a third-round pick. So obviously, these guys are not people are going to be looking into the draft to try to supplement some of these older players that they're not planning on keeping. I don't want Jarvis.
I don't want
Landry.
Landry,
Over the hill. I don't want him. But like a second round.
I
pick
want
for
Juju Smith-Schuster.
I wouldn't mind a Juju Smith-Schuster. You telling me you
I
wouldn't
mean,
mind
like he
Juju
played for
Smith-Schuster what he
USC, so
did?
I wouldn't mind it. But I
He
don't know.
was
I have a
great for
distaste
Kansas
from last
City.
season. He was. That's true.
I mean, what's the problem? He's better than all we got right now.
I just don't. I just think he's asking. He's probably be asking for over 10 million. I don't
Well,
want
if
to
they
give him.
sign Odell Beckham Jr., there's not.
I'd
gonna
rather
be any
have
room for
OBJ.
him.
Have OBJ than Juju. I'd rather bring
What?
OBJ back. Absolutely.
Why?
I'd rather have a homecoming reunion.
Everyone
Bring
has a
Thomason back.
price.
Bring OBJ back.
I like what I see, but I don't know if that's the circus.
Because he's going to demand. Because I think he can get away with paying OBJ lesser than Juju, and I think he's going to demand just as much as attention as Juju.
How is
I don't know,
no
they're
Mets?
both
No Mets.
strange.
How is Juju done? He just absolutely juked the hell out of James Bradbury and had a huge Super Bowl.
I think
He's
Juju's
26 years old.
He can still
26.
play. Absolutely.
He's a good player.
I mean, he
I
has
like
two
Paris
healthy-
Campbell too.
He has
I like
two
to get,
healthy ACLs.
There's the guy Mac was just talking
That
about,
was
Marquez
not-
Callaway from the Saints.
Not bad
That's
at all.
another guy.
Campbell.
DJ Chark. The problem with DJ Chark is he gets hurt a lot, which that's the last thing we need is another injured receiver. But Chark is a good receiver. He played pretty well for Detroit, but I don't want Bradbury back. No.
Let's talk about him
He'll
playing
be-
the Cowboys.
I
Bradbury's
think
going to
he's
get
on the
outpriced.
radar for the Giants if they go bargain basement hunting. I like Paris Campbell, like you mentioned. I'm kind of enamored with him. We need a return guy anyways. He fits the bill for both of those. He does your little gadgety gizmo plays that people like to do. So
What about a Zach Allen, Adam? Like a defensive lineman from the Cardinals. Zach Allen.
I don't necessarily. Well, the thing is, if you're going to replace him, Jihad Ward, then yes, you get a Zach Allen, because I don't think a Zach Allen fits this defense.
I think he's
now.
a defensive tackle. I think he's like a DTDE, a mix.
Well, they listed him as an edge, I thought, or I could be wrong.
I
No,
think
you're
Alan
right.
Lazard is waiting to see where Aaron Rodgers goes. I think he's going to follow Rodgers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do too.
No, based
I mean,
off this free agency class of wide receivers, I'd rather just try to address more in the draft. I'd rather just go young.
But you
address it
have
in the draft.
you have spots available. You know what I'm saying? There's a hiring.
Flowers will be there for sure.
You know, we're hiring. There's a hiring sign up in the wide receiver room because they're bringing back, because 3 guys that we're talking about right now, the people are on the Giants: Colin Johnson, Achilles; Sterling Shepard, knee; Wandell Robinson, knee. Right, 3 guys on the roster already are injured, are going to be coming back. You're going to need bodies to fill, right?
Yeah.
So get guys in here that could be contributors. I mean, you brought in Richie James and changed him. Why not bring up Paris Campbell, a guy who has been maligned in Indianapolis? Come here and say, listen, we got a spot for you, and not only that, supplement it with the draft. I think you'll get your better opportunity at a marquee number 1 in the draft as opposed to free agency. But I think free agency, you got to bring in guys. It's going to be by committee until you can find that guy. Jonathan Mingo, hello.
I love Jonathan Mingo.
I still think we address wide receiver in the draft, and who knows, it might be at the first pick. I don't know if Osiris Terrence will be there. I like Simpson, that linebacker from Clemson, but I believe that we might go wide receiver in our 26th pick. But I don't think that stops us from addressing the wide receiver in free agency as well. We might not go out there and get a household name, but we're going to go out there and get
a Galladay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who says we don't go on the trade market?
Right, but we don't have, nobody's under contract. We have nobody in the receiver room.
Our best receiver is Isaiah Hudgens. Yeah, that's our best receiver on roster right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like we need to draft receivers, and we need to acquire receivers in free agents, and we need to acquire
or get a tight end, and you can supplement some.
Absolutely.
What about a Gesicki?
I did last night. I did a mock last night where we took where Addison fell to us at 26, and I know we need linebackers, I know we need cornerbacks, but I went right around. I took Dalton Kincaid in the 2nd round of the draft because I think the tight ends, you got Washington, you got Mayer, and even beyond that, the tight end draft is deep. The tight end draft is deep this year, and we could get a catchable tight end, a receiving tight end in the 3rd round.
And Jackson Smith Enigma.
So we Jackson Smith Enigma, is that the Ohio State receiver?
Yes,
He might be gone before we picked. He might go
Cedric Tillman,
late
Tillman
teens.
from
You know
Tennessee.
what I'm saying? Tillman's one might be there. So we have a lot of receivers. I like A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry looks pretty promising. Rice, Downs.
We can go on for days.
There's so much, right? Addison. The only problem with Addison, I feel, is his pit days. Obviously, he won the best receiver in the country, but watching him at USC last season, I have a problem when he matches up against real physical cornerbacks. He gets taken out of plays, and obviously that can improve. I think he's one of the better receivers coming out this year. And like a little Diggs, like little Diggs.
No,
Yeah,
Matt's
but that
not
getting
a fan of Juju.
that being said, guys, Zay Flowers is another good one.
I love Zay
That
Flowers.
Johnson kid out of TCU. You guys want to mention anything else before we wrap it up with our favorite upcoming releasing in the world of media film?
Just
Is it Jalen Hyatt? Absolutely.
I don't know, man. I think you need to bring in some veterans, like you said, because you're going to have a stable foot of young guys, right? So you're going to want some kind of explosiveness. I think there needs to be a changing of the guard. While I love Sterling Shepard and all, I think it's time to move on from some of these players that didn't work out or have had some trouble. And, I feel like Sterling Shepard's an old head in wrestling, right? He's nostalgia. You get the pop, but you don't really want him to hold the title. You kind of want him just to be there every once in a while for WrestleMania and pay-per-view. Hi, goodbye, see you later. His time has passed. Time to get some guys in here.
No, Odell, move on. I love it. Well,
Randy,
thank you guys all too.
hockey.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all for joining us today as we wrap it up with our final question. It's going to be a little bit of fun one. It says premium takes, and I know we're on the Hardcore Sports Network, but it's not only a show that covers sports. We cover all takes premium. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, I just wanted to talk to you guys about your next. I'm a big fan of movies. I'm a big movie buff, and this is just packed. This year is packed with films coming out. So I just want to hear some of your guys' most anticipated movies coming out this year. I'm gonna let you guys start it. I'm more than happy to list the movies, but I'm pretty sure you guys know a handful of movies that you guys are excited about. So let's go, Mac. Let's start with you, and we'll just go down from there.
Yeah, I got two. One's going to come out actually pretty soon, and I'm not sure when the other one's coming out exactly. But I want to see the Flash. I'm excited for the Flash movie. It's been a long time coming for the Flash movie. Got Michael Keaton back as Batman. Come on, man. Forget about it. Can't wait for that. I can't wait for that to drop. I'm definitely trying to see that in the IMAX in all of its glory. And then also just for the nostalgia of it, because I remember when the sneaks first came out, the Air Jordan, the movie about the Jordans, about the sneaks, man, how they came about, just that whole thing. I'm kind of curious. Can't wait to see that story, man. How that all played out. Because I remember being a little kid.
Great actors in that film too.
Them Jordans came out, they hit, man. Of course, I wasn't one of those privileged kids that was able to get a pair when I was a little kid. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to seeing that whole story and everything about it, man. I think it's pretty cool, pretty dope movie. That's coming out like sometime in April, I believe.
They're bringing back Michael Keaton as Batman.
So
yeah, in the Flash movie, it's going to be great.
Oh my God!
You ever dance with the devil on a pale moon night?
So yeah, that's
I
what
love it.
I'm looking forward to.
Great two movies that Matt just mentioned. We got a DC. We had the director from Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't believe James Gunn. James Gunn has totally revamped the DCU universe, and there's going to be a lot of great films coming out for DC. So if you're a fan of DC, Marvel finally got competition. They're going to start it off with the Flash movie that Mac just mentioned, and then we got the Air Jordan movie coming out about the shoes that basically, a rookie Jordan coming out, and basically one of the first rookies, if not the first rookie, to actually get a signature shoe, and basically talks about how he basically saved Nike when Nike didn't really have a sneaker that was competing with some of these companies at the time. So that's going to be two great films coming out. Let's go to Adam. Adam, what's some of your films you can't wait to see?
Well, I'm an old guy from the 90s, so there's two 90s genres that are hitting the theaters. One is the Transformers Beasts, which
Rise of the Beast.
The Rise of the Beast. That's, I think, where they go into the Beast Wars section of the Transformers and get down that journey. If you can make 10 Fast and the Furious, you might as well make 10 Transformer movies.
Exactly.
So, come on, let's be real. And the other one that I have is the Ninja Turtles movie.
Ooh,
I wanna, let's see how they do it. And see how it comes out and turns out. And those are the two I'm looking forward to. There's one other one I like, but I don't know The last one was terrible. But the Indiana Jones is the last
Okay.
one that
Duel of Destiny is coming out this year. Indiana Jones, Duel of Destiny.
Yeah, I don't know how excited I am about it, but I've seen all of them, and I'm just like, well, I guess I'll torture myself for another hour and a half, 2 hours to see this piece of junk. But the other two movies I will go see by myself, the Transformer movies. And I don't want to be that creepy old guy, but sometimes you got to be that creepy old guy in the back and just watching these movies. So.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with some guy the other day. I believe it was Logan. And then Logan's like, I don't know if I'm going to go watch the new Seth Rogen's TMNT in theaters. And I'm like, why won't you go watch it? You're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans. He's like, it's about a cartoon. But sometimes guys, you have to go to the cinemas to see a really great cartoon, because I'm a fan of cartoons. Avatar: The Last Airbender was a phenomenal cartoon. I'm a fan of anime myself. So that being said, I just think the graphics, I don't know if he did, LGC. He did say he's a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. So Adam did say he's excited for that. And one of my top franchises going up is Transformers. A lot of people say that Michael Bay ruined Transformers and there was no story. Hey, guess what, guys? I watched a lot of films that had no stories and just CGI. And I'm excited to have the Beast Wars. Have the Beast Wars a part of it. Jeff, let's get to your films.
Well, I'm going to talk about one of the films that I grew up watching in the 90s with a little old man named Tom Cruise, and that's Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Been a huge fan of Mission Impossible since the beginning. I've always loved this series. Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, it's like the series that never ends, sort of like the other one I'm going to talk about in a second. But I'm curious to see if this is finally going to be the end of this great series. It just seems like every single time the movie is always a banger. I actually really like the last one they did. So, I mean, that's one movie that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And just for nostalgic reasons, I'm going to say it. Fast 10. I just want to see how they're finally – for the hell of it, because it's just been with us. It's been in my childhood since 2001.
Oh, man, you can't get rid of that movie.
Well, thank God it's finally ending. It should be over.
Is it ending?
No, they're actually going to be done now. It's done.
Is it?
They said
1.2.
Like an STD that doesn't
10 years later, 10 years later, money grab, Hollywood comes
They're finally done. Thank God they're finally going to be done.
That's what they said about the last one.
Well, I think this is the point where you got to end it. I mean, it's like it's just gotten ridiculous. They should have ended it on its high note after number 7. When Paul Walker was in his last film. That's what it should have just been like. That's it. We're done. Cut the series off at that amazing last scene of that movie. And then we're just going to go right off into the sunset. Instead, they decided to make the whatever the hell the one after that was. That was garbage. And then 9th, then you throw John Cena in there as his brother. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Jeff,
these movies.
I apologize to interrupt. I thought you guys were talking about Day of Reckoning. I believe that's going to be the last Mission Impossible movie, Day of Reckoning Part 2. But they already confirmed Fast and Furious 11.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the last Mission Impossible as well, because how much more?
They
how much
confirmed the 11 already?
They confirmed Fast and the Furious 11. Absolutely.
My God, I told you. It's like an STD
okay,
that
so I
won't
was
go away.
wrong.
You just put the ointment on and it keeps coming back. You know what I'm
saying? Damn it!
If you go on IMDb, you have the Aquaman actor. I forget his name. I can't believe I'm slaughtering it.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa has appeared on his Wikipedia and on his IMDb. It says Fast and Furious 10, Fast and Furious 11.
I didn't even know this, guys. Do you know that there's going to be like a Exorcist, a Final Destination 6 is coming out?
Yep, they're going to be the Evil Dead Rise. There's going to be Saw X. There's going to be a new Hunger Games, The Ballad of the Songbird.
They're like, well, everyone's going back to the movies. Let's go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What the hell can you do with Saw? I mean, how many times can Jigsaw be killed? I mean, enough with Saw already.
There's also going to be a Meg too. The Meg show.
Oh, that is what I'm going to look forward to. Yeah. The giant shark eating people. That's right up my alley.
I have three movies that I'm super excited for. The first one is Oppenheimer. Obviously, it's about the creation of the atom bomb. Obviously, how it changed history. And I just love good movies.
Really?
Legally Blonde 3 also is coming out. That's not a part of my list, but Oppenheimer is going to be a great film, and I can't wait to see Oppenheimer. Another one is Dune Part 2. Now, I'm not talking about Dune, the trash one from the 70s, or the trash one even before that. Dune, 2021's Dune, masterpiece.
That was great.
Directed by Dennis V., one of my favorite directors in Hollywood. He's back for Dune Part 2. That's just going to be another masterpiece. And one big movie that's coming out at the end of the year for Netflix. This is not a blockbuster release, but it is going to be a blockbuster for Netflix. Zack Snyder wanted to do a Star Wars story for years and got denied. So what did Zack Snyder do? He just created his own universe, Rebel Moon, coming out on Netflix. If you guys hasn't checked out the trailer for Rebel Moon yet, I suggest you guys do. It looks exactly like a Star Wars kind of film. It looks like the costume designs are just like Star Wars, but it's a Zack Snyder film. Rebel Moon. Those are the three movies that I'm mostly excited for, and then a bunch of you guys.
Copyrighted it, but like put Darth Vader's mask up. Call
them. They're also gonna have John Wick 4 coming up this month. That's gonna be fun. Dungeons and Dragons at the end of the month, and another one that we didn't mention is
Wonder Woman. Got me intrigued. I liked Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman intrigues a lot of people.
They're gonna actually relaunch. I believe they're having a new Wonka film. Really Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, if you guys are excited for that. But that's probably going to end our show here, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to give Mac the honors of releasing us and doing the great outro that he does very well. So thank you guys for joining us, and over to you, Mac.
Well, everybody, definitely want to thank you all for coming out and then to another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast with myself and the four horsemen. Myself and my fellow horsemen, NYG Jeffy T, Adam Costas, Zion Zenith, man. We will be back at y'all again next Sunday. Not sure what time yet, but we'll let y'all know throughout some point this week. And thanks again for tuning in. No Mets, no Jets. Been here the whole time. I feel like, man, really appreciate that commitment to the chat, man. Keeping that chat going, Miz. Shout out to you too, man. You've been in the chat for quite a bit throughout the show, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Everybody else that tuned in to another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast. This is myself and the rest of the horsemen, and we'll be back at y'all again next Sunday. Pay!
Great job, guys.